F Memphis. It's time for Sports Time on Sports 56 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lenses of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Scott, Sportsworthy, and Brian Davis.
Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you. Landon Schmidt producing. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. The first show of March. The madness has already began. We had crazy games over the weekend. Already a couple teams eliminated from tournaments. Some teams that have been eliminated can't even make their tournament. So the madness has officially begun, and we have a ton to get into today. Tigers, they were victorious yesterday over UAB. I already mentioned it. A busy weekend all over college basketball, especially in the SEC. We talked about it on Friday, how it felt like it was going to be a really good, entertaining, fun, meaningful weekend for the SEC. It absolutely was. The Grizzlies, they dropped 2 over the weekend. So much to get to over the next 3 hours. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Bryant. The story of the weekend is the Memphis Tigers, and we've wondered all year, do they play down to the heavy point spread favorites that they are, a lot of sleepier, but when Memphis shows about the best arena that place may have had all year, Wichita State, I think, one of those, even though that was only about half full, they really got into it. You know, we wondered when, the lights really get bright and the intensity really turns up, what will they do?
Yeah.
Well, it had that yesterday, and they responded overwhelmingly.
Sure did. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was you talk about, there's going to be a good crowd here. It's going to be good. That was the good crowd. That was the sellout.
Memphis fans matched some intensity inside Bartow Arena,
sure did.
though.
And, we talked about it late last week where, easy drive for people. And
that wasn't just Connor and his buds making all that racket, were they?
No. That was a lot of Memphis fans.
It sure sounded it.
Yeah, and so that was a lot of fun. And, you're right. I think you were a little worried before the game when, the Tigers only a 1.5 point favorite on the road. And then, the game starts and, UAB takes control. And, in the second half, they're leading and really doing it without Yaxel. I think you thought going into it, if UAB is going to win this game, if they're going to compete, it's going to be because Yaxel has a big game. Like last year. And that was, very far from the truth. Yaxel was taken out of it early, and it was pretty much everybody else really making an impact for UAB, but when it really mattered, you had Dane Danger step up, you had PJ Haggerty step up, Colby Rogers knocking down shots. It was really everybody stepping up for the Tigers to get that win, and that was a big one.
To the people that were wondering, will they match it? That was evidence that it feels like, regardless of what seed, who the first round opponent will be, this team can match it, can go.
Yeah, no, they absolutely can, and we've seen it all season. You go back to non-conference and those teams that Memphis played, and it never felt like any of those opponents were too much for Memphis. Auburn, I think, was the only one, but outside of that, Memphis handled non-conference extremely well, and then you get to conference, and of course, we know what this conference slate has been for the Tigers. It's been a lot of wins, but it's been couple of scares, a couple of tricky games out there, but now 2 more games in conference play in the regular season before you go to the conference tournament. It feels like, I know it's not technically locked up, but it feels like Tigers are going to be the number 1 seed. It feels like that win against UAB wrapped that up, as long as you do what you got to do these next 2 games.
Just win.
Exactly. I thought a huge win for the Tigers.
And for the game tomorrow night against UTSA and Friday night against USF, just win. No extra examination. All that's over because we're now getting, for everybody, roughly in the part of the schedule, okay, you have this week, and then everybody's conference tournament starting. Most teams in the country, max, about 2 more losses in them, maybe 3.
Yeah.
That's max. The runway's short now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's
the Tigers have made it.
It is mattering, and I think Penny Hardaway. I don't have the quote in front of me, but he kind of said when that game tipped off, and he saw the environment, he felt it, and he saw the way that game was going. He said it hit me that this is March, and the postseason begins now, and these are every game is important, and if you are the Tigers, because of what the American is, it feels like you just have to go out there and win every single game in front of you if you want to advance. And so that's what they did yesterday, and obviously the big story going into it was Dane versus Yaxel. Both guys had 4 fouls. Both guys had to sit.
If it was a
early
fight,
in the fourth quarter or second half.
It was stopped in the fourth round.
It was. I mean, Dane's
Mouthpiece
fantastic.
knocked out.
Yeah, I mean, Dane was awesome, 16 points, 17 rebounds, and really, you got to give a lot of credit to Nicholas Jourdain. It was mainly Nicholas Jourdain that was, had the defensive assignment for Yaxel, and Yaxel goes out there 4 for 10 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, finished with 10.6 rebounds, in foul trouble early, had to sit a lot, and
lost the psychological game.
Yeah, really took him out of it early, and credit to everyone else on UAB. I mean, they had guys step up, McGee, who had 22 points, Coleman, who had a nice 14. Some of those guys off the bench came in and made an impact. But you take out that guy that, clearly UAB's best player, you took him out, and that was a real difference maker.
Who is the MVP of the Tiger team this year?
I mean, honestly, I know the easy answer is PJ. I'd probably say Dane Danger.
Who's the MVP of the league?
PJ Haggerty.
It is.
It's weird how that is for me to answer, but I would say player of the year is PJ Haggerty. But I would say the MVP for this team, when they put him in there and how he's played and the production he's had, I'd say Dane Danger.
Down the stretch of the game, 17 for PJ Haggerty in the final 12 minutes, and it was just everybody get out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Get out of the way. Let me get to the basket. Drew fouls. You 7 for 8 from the free throw line. So, getting to the line, knocking down shots, dishing ball. And the biggest thing for him, only 1 turnover in that game last night. Tigers finished with 13.
You live with
but
that.
He only had 1, and that's what you want from your point guard. Some of the other guys were, a little shaky with the ball. Dane Danger.
You can live with 13, 14 stretching it.
Yes, you can live with that. But certainly you want your point guard. You want those ball handlers to not have a lot of turnovers.
And to have that win score 88, only making 5 threes.
Mm-hmm, yeah, and you look at the
get it on the blocks.
Yeah, the last couple games, 3-pointers have not been there for the Tigers, and
then quit shooting them.
Exactly, and I mean, this isn't a Memphis team that takes a lot of threes. They haven't taken a lot of threes all year. That's just not who they are, but. I think they hit some big shots, some big threes when it mattered. It was only Kobe Rogers that made any threes. He was 5 for 9 from 3. He had some really big ones in that game. But yeah, these last 2 games, it has not been the 3 ball. So, get it in the paint, get it down to Dane Danger. You've seen how they've opened games, certainly the last 2. It's been the last 4 or 5 where that first offensive possession of the game, it's get the ball down to Dane Danger, let him work, let him try to get the first points of the game so that he can get going, and when he's in the zone, he's hard to stop.
Yeah, and a lot of different math for tomorrow night's game. Mm-hmm. But the Tigers are going to be the 1 seed. They're going to be the champion of the regular season in the AAC. Have that 1 seed, and that means no ball until that Friday. Mm-hmm. And you win that. I don't know how much Sunday matters because we know the committee doesn't do a lot of work on Sunday.
No.
They get everything mostly broad form and even sometimes narrow to CBS for the announcement. And we wonder about seed. You see the net. You see the AP ranking. You see the bracketology. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's any way to get to a 5 seed.
No. And I don't want a 5 seed. I'm glad there's no way to get to a 5 seed because that's a very tough game. I way rather than be a 6 or a 7. Certainly don't want to be an 8. We certainly know what that 8-9 game looks like. Feels like the Tigers in recent years when they're in the tournament, they're in that 8-9 game. So yeah, I mean we're waiting on. Obviously haven't gotten an updated one from Joe Lenardi. Jerry Palm updated his on yesterday morning, so it didn't have the Tigers win factored in there, but he has them as a 6. We'll talk to Shelby here in a little more than an hour. He has them on the 8 line. We'll talk a lot with him about why he has them there, what they need to do to improve from an 8. But, it feels like they're going to stay in that range. We talked about it last week. Anywhere between, really it feels like now 6 and 8 is going to be that trading range for the Tigers.
And back-to-back national champion UConn on that same 8 line in Shelby Mass bracket we will visit with Shelby about 4:30 about that. Let's just say today, for sake of argument,
Okay.
Shelby's 100% correct.
Okay, all right.
Everything's going to fall just, and I think he missed by one. He had one miss last year by AC.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If we're going to trust a bracket, Shelby's the one to trust.
He beat a lot of the other larger branded
Yes, he did.
bracketologists, and they have a. I mean, it will spit out Sunday night how all the bracketologists did.
Sure will.
And rank everybody. I think he was 6th the last year out of all of them.
That's incredible.
That's really good. So he has Vandy, Illinois, Memphis, UConn as the 8s. That means 8 playing 9. Here are the 9s: Indiana, San Diego State, Baylor, Georgia. All of those are fragile. All could be in and better than that seed with a tournament run, or out with a first-round exit in their tournament. Win that game, you're playing the 1.
Yep.
Here are the ones: Duke, Tennessee, Auburn, and that's where Shelby has Memphis, and Florida.
Yeah.
Well, Auburn's the number 1 overall seed in the
right.
tournament.
Yep.
That, to me, is the most impossible if you win the 8-9 game matchup against the 1.
Yeah.
I don't fear a Tennessee or Florida game.
Yeah.
Duke is not that favorable, and I think it's impossible against Auburn.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going to be in an 8-9 matchup, if you're told, hey, there's no way of getting out of an 8-9, give me somewhere other than Auburn as your number 1, because I certainly don't want to face off against them. Shelby has Memphis facing off against Creighton in the 8-9 in Lexington. Creighton would be a tough test. Creighton year
Tigers
in, year
would take
out.
a lot of fans to Lexington.
They would. That would be a good spot. Very easy to get to. So I wouldn't mind that at all. But you're right. I would not want to be in the same pod as Auburn and have to face them in game number 2. It's hard against any number 1 seed to face off in that second round, but certainly don't want Auburn. That's why I'd love to get up to a 7, maybe even a 6 if you can, because I just think Tigers in a much better position if they're in one of those spots.
Yeah, if you're that 6, you're probably you got about a 50% chance of catching somebody that's played in Dayton.
Yeah, and then that's second game in a couple of days, and it's probably going to be
a lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion.
Some travel.
Probably a pretty close game usually in those Dayton games, and so you'd get a team not at full strength, and that would be good. And then you'd come out of that, and if you win that game, you'd see likely the 3 seed. So I think you'd certainly like that a lot more than seeing a 1 seed, no matter who it is. So certainly time. I think if the Tigers went out and make some noise in their tournament with what they have in front of them, I think they can sneak up to a 7, maybe even a 6. Like I said, Jerry Palm has them as a 6, so it feels like anywhere in that 6 to 8 range is possible. But it does feel like 5 is out of the question now.
Fill in the blank for me.
Okay, I love a good fill in the blank.
It's this team's year.
That's Auburn.
It's Auburn.
I mean, that's an easy
No doubt.
question. Auburn is just, they have looked head and shoulders better than pretty much everybody they've played this season. I mean, there has not been a game.
Did lose at Duke.
Yeah,
Did lose at home to Florida.
But, I mean, none of those games you felt like, oh, man, they got
have
embarrassed
a
here.
loss the rest of the way.
Sure. But if it's any team, it's Auburn. They have looked so dominant all year long. And, I don't want to see them. I don't think any team in the country wants to see them in March.
And with that, I'm serious when I say this. I think it's for sure if they cut the nets down. If they win it, 6 Mondays from now? Is that right?
Wow.
If they win it all, no question, I won't back up an ounce from it. I'm really close already to proclaiming, with the one Final Four in 2019 and the sustained success, I don't mean this cutting, but it was at a basketball nowheresville.
Sure.
It just was. I think it is the best head coaching job turned in by any coach in the history of the SEC. Football, basketball, baseball, anything.
Sport. Wow.
Any sport. If they win it, no doubt I won't back down an ounce from it.
I mean, the job he's done has been incredible. I mean, you're right, doing it at Auburn. And no offense to Auburn at all, but that is not a historical basketball powerhouse by any means. Certainly good players come from it.
They've
had some good teams, But I mean, they've
had some good coaches,
Sure.
good men, and fun
Yeah.
stories, but nothing sustained, nothing prolonged, nothing ever to indicate you're going to go on this run.
Yeah.
Nobody believed he would stay there this long.
No.
A lot of people thought he'd run afoul of the NCAA
Yeah.
very quickly after he got there. He hadn't done that, and he has elevated it and made Neville Arena and the new arena that they committed to
Great arena.
the best place to play in the league.
Yeah, and you brought it up on I guess it was Friday, where their age, where they are only 6 months younger on average than the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're just an old team. They're a veteran-led team, and that's what Bruce Pearl wants in a team. And you look at some of these guys they've got. I mean, the perfect. Guys, Janai Broome, this is not a 5-star guy, 4-star guy. This was a guy that had very little offers out of high school, goes to Moorhead, plays, I think 2 years there before, getting in the transfer portal and landing at Auburn, and now arguably the best player in all of college basketball. I mean, it just shows how he develops guys, how he can go and find talented guys anywhere. I mean, he's got some highly rated young guys on his team, but he can go out and find the 4 or 5 stars, but he can go out and find that maybe low-key guy that he can develop and turn into a guy like Janai Broome, and it just feels like this team's completely bought in. Crazy to think this is the same team that had to have a plane turnaround because they were fighting on board. But, he knows how to get
lit a
teams to buy
fuse,
in.
didn't it?
It did something. Something happened in the air. I guess.
And when I say that, you think of some of the notable football places.
Sure.
Well, now it was a long time ago, but not even the Bear was the first dynastic Bama coach.
Yeah.
Wallace Wade and maybe one other way back, 20s and 30s. So Coach Saban sure wasn't, because what the Bear had done.
Sure.
Saban at LSU, some will say, but LSU, everybody had been waiting for them to finally do that, to finally be that. Almost the same with Spurrier at Florida. And his style certainly made the impact, the passing and his bravado. That style won over a lot of people and made everybody sit up. But everybody had been waiting for Florida to finally tap into that. They had never won the league before Spurrier got there. Spurrier, South Carolina, phenomenal job, but it's not as sustained and has not gone even as far as the 2019 run for Bruce Pearl. Most of the baseball places, all of them that won those there, Ole Miss included, Mississippi State included. How come you hadn't won one before now?
Sure. Yeah.
Tennessee baseball, he could be up there.
Yeah, the job he's doing.
And what he's going to continue.
Yeah, exactly. That's not slowing down anytime
It's
soon.
not. But my contention, and I got a friend of mine that knows Auburn as well as anybody around.
Sure.
He agrees. And no doubt, nothing will knock me off of it if he's standing there holding the trophy.
It's a good take.
On the last Monday night of the year.
Hot take. I like it. It's a good one. I mean, I'm in on it. But we'll see. I think they're in a great spot, and obviously a couple of games left for them before we start the SEC tournament. Well, we have a jam-packed show this afternoon, so let me set it up before we get to top story of the day. 3:30, Brad Logan from 247 Sports covering Ole Miss. He'll join us. We'll talk Ole Miss basketball. They got the win in a close one over the weekend against Oklahoma. A game Brett and I were in attendance for. A lot of fun. So we'll talk Ole Miss basketball. We'll talk SEC with Brad Logan in our next segment. 3:45, we'll talk the Tigers and their win over UAB yesterday afternoon. Get more in depth of what happened in that matchup. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. He'll join us. A ton of college basketball to get to with David Cobb. 4:30, Shelby Mast from bracketwag.com. He'll join us to talk bracketology. A lot to get to where the Tigers are at. If you missed it, he has Memphis currently as an 8 seed. They would play Creighton in the 8-9. A winner would get a matchup against Auburn. We'll talk with him about what his bracket looks like. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, DeMichael Cole, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, will join us. We'll talk about the Grizzlies' back-to-back losses over the weekend. Friday night, a loss at the last last second against the New York Knicks. Then Saturday, kind of Groundhog's Day, another loss at the buzzer from the Spurs, a game where a lot of Grizzlies missed with injuries. We'll talk with DeMichael at 5 o'clock. 5:30, we get to watch trending, and at 5:45, wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. It's their first ever preseason pool, spa, and patio event going on now at Family Leisure. Pools starting at $19.99. Spas from $29.99. Cold plunge and swim spas are priced to move. And patio furniture sets starting at just $7.99. Register to win either a free pool, spa, or patio set. Stop by today to sign up at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt. We are Sportstime. We're with you until 6 o'clock. He's Bryant. I'm Brett. We want you to hit us up by texting or calling the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line at 901-360-8255. Always from our Family Leisure studio, and always this hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2025 models and always special leasing options. Drive-in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the only Lexus dealership in Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the safe luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, it's got to be the Tigers. Another win for them, this time on the road in Birmingham against UAB. That makes the Tigers 24-5 on the season, 14-2 in conference play. And while nothing is official yet, it pretty much wrapped up that the Tigers will be the number 1 seed down at the AAC tournament. It was a game where before it, a lot of people talking about the Dane Danger versus Yaxel Lindenborg matchup, and both guys 4 fouls. They had to sit out for parts of the second half, but it was Dane Danger's game. 16 points, a career-high 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, a steal. He did have 4 turnovers, but a really good game from Dane Danger. Had a double-double in the first half. Then in the second half, it was P.J. Haggerty who turned it up, finished with 25 points and 4 assists. We got production from a lot of different guys. They did not rely on their bench much at all. Musa Cisse led the bench with only 16 minutes. Wasn't able to do much, got into foul trouble, did have 7 rebounds. P.J. Carter came in, I thought, had some nice defensive possessions, but went 0 for 3 from the field and also from the three-point line. So they relied on their starters. You look at these minutes, 31 minutes, 37 minutes, 34 minutes, 34. The only guy that did not play 30 or more minutes was Nicholas Jourdain, who was in foul trouble. He finished with 29 minutes. We talk about once you get to March, you see those rotations start getting smaller and smaller, and it looks like Penny Hardaway relying on those starters to make an impact, and they needed it. Tigers trailing in the second half, had to come back, but a really nice performance by the Tigers. Yaxel Lindenborg on the other side, only 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 for 10 from the field. Not much during the game between Dane and Yaxel, but after the game, the cameras caught it, handshake line. Both of them chirping at each other. Dane Danger saying,
Scoreboard.
Well, you got to say scoreboard, but if you remember, Yaxel took exception to Dane Danger saying that prior to scout before the game in Memphis, he had never heard of Yaxel Lindenborg and did not think he was the player of the year. And Yaxel responded and said, "We'll see ya." And so Dane Danger, you could see him mouthing, "And we'll see you again. We'll see you again," to him in the handshake line. So a fun rivalry between those two guys, but it's been all Dane and all Tigers.
Yeah, call me old-fashioned, but I think the only one that talks is one that's won both games.
That's right.
My top story right there, unanimous Tigers with their most complete performance since the Ole Miss game, 88-81 statement win. The statement was this is March. You're going to have those minutes played. You're going to rack up a lot of that. That's this time of year. They will win the regular season in the AAC. Nobody had them 16-2. Nobody.
Nope.
I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh yeah, that's exactly it." No. Nobody had 16-2. The best I heard around 15-3, a lot of 14-4s, but it's going to finish 16-2, and they'll be heavily favored in Fort Worth. Very impressive. Never blinked and put it on UAB. Even in a little bit of foul trouble, and played smartly down the stretch, not getting anybody disqualified. Take care of business in San Antonio tomorrow night. Last home game Friday night at FedEx Forum, and then the real trip, the real test, the road to San Antonio really begins in Fort Worth. Isn't it always about San Antonio with Tiger fans?
Right, yeah.
All roads lead to San Antonio always, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a spot in my heart. I don't know if I would say it's a special or even a good spot in my heart, but it's there. It has a spot. Very small, but it is there.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day, it's the Grizzlies. 0-2 over the weekend in two games where both of them they could have easily won. Friday night against the Knicks, it came down to the final seconds. You had the Grizzlies take a lead, 113-111, but then it was OG Anunoby who knocked
It was
down.
called 12 there for a second.
It was.
Then they hung up on
and
us.
Yeah, that's what it was. OG Anunoby knocking down the shot to give.
Then it was a ship-to-shore call Saturday
That's right.
night when he wasn't in there.
Yeah, and then Saturday you weren't able to call 12, but it was almost call 13. Jaren Jackson Jr. ties the game with a three-pointer with 23 seconds left, but then it was De'Aaron Fox who hit the shot with only 2 seconds left to break that tie and give the Spurs the win. So 0-2 over the weekend. What does that mean? It means you fall to the 4 seed currently in the Western Conference. Both the Lakers
Two-slot
and
penalty.
the Nuggets, now in front of you. And don't look now, Lakers 7-2 since Luka Doncic has made his debut in Los Angeles. So you're a half game behind Denver now. They don't play again till Wednesday. You're only a game ahead of the Houston Rockets. And remember, the Rockets have that tiebreaker if it comes down to it. If those teams are tied at the end of the season, it would be advantage Rockets with what happened in that 4-game series. But the Grizzlies back in action tonight need a good response against a Hawks team that's starting to struggle, missing a couple guys with injuries. You would really love to see the Grizzlies bounce back and get a win tonight.
My not top story, same thing. Unanimity on top and not today. The Grizzlies, they've been scuffling since coming out of the All-Star break. The heartbreaker Friday night to the Knicks, and then Jaren Jackson with the B team, and another heartbreaker on Saturday night to the very inept Spurs from San Antonio. It's always San Antonio around here, isn't it?
Yep.
Can't stand for the fans that on Saturday night they sent the B team out there like that. The fans do not deserve that. This fan base has been through enough. You can't help when a guy's not when he's not in there because he's hurt. But when they're able to play, people aren't paying to see Bismack Biyombo against Lamar Stevens.
Lamar Stevens gets a second 2-day, and now Bismack Biyombo gets a 2-way, I believe, with the Spurs. So how about that? Both those guys.
You buy tickets to see Wemby and Ja, and you get
right.
Bismack and Lamar.
And Wemby, understandable out for the season, but
yeah.
John Morant and some of those guys for the Grizzlies that
Too
were out
coddled.
Saturday.
Got to be in there.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, talking Ole Miss basketball and the SEC with Brad Logan.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Is your wife asking you to stop eating junk food? We have it covered at Humdinger. It's quick, it's healthy, and most important, it tastes amazing. Many choices from salmon salad to rainbow trout and grilled asparagus. Come visit us for lunch at Humdinger, 6300 Poplar Avenue. So good, Coach Penny eats with us weekly. Don't forget, Humdinger's offers full-service catering for weddings, social events, or your corporate lunches. You can call 901-260-8292 to find out more.
Progressive Local Explorer lets you easily compare rates, and shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Honey, what?
There's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do? Get down.
On the floor, you...
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy. But with Progressive's Local Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in most situations. Sources vary based on how you buy.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you. This Rebel is online radio show is on WHBU Sports 56 and 98.5 FM every Monday night at 6. Hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive captain Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC sports ball, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff and free throw to extra innings. Your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It seems like it's picked up quite a bit on 40 East here at Warford, headed over towards Covington Pike as that traffic cranks up through the Midtown area. 240 southbound here at South Parkway. As you head south of Memphis, that traffic volume is on the increase also down past State Line Road on 55 going southbound down through South Haven into DeSoto County. Weimer's Jewelry, conveniently located 7525 Highway 64, is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure studio. So much action over the weekend in college basketball. We talked a lot of Tigers in the first segment. We're going to get back into Tigers UAB at about 3:45. But we got to talk Ole Miss Rebels. We got to talk the SEC. And joining us now to do that, Brad Logan. He covers the Ole Miss Rebels for Inside the Rebels 247 over on 247 Sports. He joins us now. Brad, thanks so much for joining us. Brett and I in attendance. We saw you on Saturday for Ole Miss Oklahoma, game that got hairy at the end, but Ole Miss able to survive. What did you see in that matchup, and what have you seen this season from the Ole Miss Rebels?
Absolutely great catching up with you and Brett, and always a pleasure. Jordan, I hope you enjoyed your first trip to Oxford. What we saw was it ended up being a really good basketball game, and I don't know that Ole Miss fans are really pleased that it was that close in the end. You know, the Rebels had a pretty good lead there and kind of fell apart. But I think the biggest thing is you look at this Ole Miss schedule, you had 3 straight losses, and then you were able to get back on the winning track, beating Oklahoma 87-84. Now you are solidly in the NCAA tournament. You've kind of got opportunities against number 4 Tennessee, at number 5 Florida, which gives you an opportunity to kind of make some hay. Right now, as you guys probably know, they're a 7 seed, according to Joe Lenardi of ESPN, and I think they're in pretty good shape. What I saw on the floor Saturday was kind of Ole Miss getting back to what they do well, and that's running their offense through point guard Sean Padula. They've got 6 players averaging over 10 points a game, but Padula ended up having 26 points, averaging 15.2. And it was interesting, guys, in the press conference at the end of the game, we were talking with Sean Padula, and a reporter asked him about that big three-pointer, as you guys saw at the end of the game, that he hit, kind of gave the separation for Ole Miss. And the reporter asked, hey, did you want to take the big shot? And he kind of hem-hawed around like, hey, I want to put the team on my back, but more importantly, I want to be a team player. And you could see Chris Beard look over and he popped him on the shoulder and says, you wanted to take that shot. And that's the kind of player that Sean Padula is. But Ole Miss is in good position now, a little hairy going into the game, but being able to beat Oklahoma, now you got opportunities coming up, and they're solidly NCAA tournament.
Solidly in the NCAA tournament, Brad, in year 2 for Chris Beard, and I think it is a testament to Chris Beard and his coaching prowess. He inherited nothing, and everybody kind of starts over year in and year out now, and he had to really refashion this team after a good year last year, 20 wins, a good year last year, but not a tournament team. And I don't think many people were guaranteeing Ole Miss into the tournament this year, but he got them there. Don't you think he should really take a big victory lap with getting Ole Miss in an NCAA tournament?
I think he should. And, you and I, Brad, have talked a ton off air about this. Ole Miss was staring a 6-game losing streak in the face. They lose this game against Oklahoma, and all of a sudden now you start looking at Chris Beard in the late seasons last year and then this year, and the numbers were not good. And they kind of fell apart last year. They lost their legs, and they were kind of headed that direction this year. But credit Chris Beard. You made a great point. Credit him for getting the team back together. A player that kind of we scratching our heads a little bit watching Malik Diaz, someone that averaging 10.3 points per game, but my goodness, you look up late in the game and he's not in there, and he just kind of come and goes. And the way that Chris Beard's kind of kept this team together, he's got a lot of great minutes from Dre Davis, from Jamie Brayfield, who's been around the program a while, and also Jalen Murray, who's made some big shots. Mikael Brown-Jones hasn't done a lot, but Davin Barnes has. And we've also been watching a player that people in Memphis know very well, Matthew Morrell, injured earlier this year, just has not been the Matthew Morrell that we've seen in years past. So dealing with those injuries, dealing with Malik Diaz kind of not playing as well as you should have, I think the testament is just how good of a coach, just how good of a coach Chris Beard is. In Ole Miss making the tournament a place that Ole Miss is not a staple, a program that makes the NCAA tournament. So it's always a big deal when the Rebels get to the postseason in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. You just threw out a couple of names that have been big impact players this year, but looking ahead, I know 2 tough games coming up to end the regular season, but once this group gets to the SEC tournament, even the NCAA tournament, who's the guy that has to step up, that has to be that go-to guy for Ole Miss to have success?
Well, interesting question, Brian. One that I don't know that there's a right answer. One person that I think looks wonderful one moment, and the next trip down the floor, you'll think, how in the world can he make it in the world of basketball, is Jamin Brayfield. And he took the game over late against LSU and wheeled Ole Miss back from an opportunity to where they shouldn't even be in the game, and they ended up winning the game off a tip. And I think he's a player that I think you could look at to say, hey, Ole Miss won by 3 down the stretch because Brayfield kind of took the game over. Then you look at a shooter like a Juju Murray, someone that's averaging 10.4 points per game, and someone that can kind of make a big shot when you need him to. And that's someone that I think can be the player that you can go to late in the game. Dre Davis, we saw him make some big plays. And more importantly for Davis, he's able to find that offensive rebound, something that Ole Miss has been killed on the boards this year. But Dre Davis always finds a way to get that offensive board. But, gentlemen, I think it's going to be Sean Padula. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the one that's gotten better as the year has gone on. There have been a couple of games this year to where he's made some interesting decisions trying to get the ball down low and throwing it away and turning the basketball over, something that he hasn't done a ton of, but he has had those lapses. If he can somehow bring those turnovers back in, he's absolutely the person that can get Ole Miss to maybe fairly deep in the tournament, and deep for Ole Miss is a Sweet 16. This is a team that's never made it to the Elite Eight, Final Four. So this is something that Chris Beard's really good at, getting teams to Final Four, and we'll see if this Ole Miss team is a team that can make a deep run.
Brad Logan, our guest on Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, talking all things Ole Miss after their big win Saturday over Oklahoma at the Pavilion. Oklahoma, not that good, only 4-12 now in the SEC, but they've really created their national reputation non-conference, like all the SEC did, including 30-4 over the ACC. That includes last place, dead last in SEC, South Carolina. They did beat Clemson in the non-conference portion. After we've played this 18 game schedule, Chris Beard called it an 18-round fight. Just how good, top to bottom, and really more than that, Brad, bottom up is this SEC?
Yeah, great question. I was actually going to lead into how many teams are ranked in the SEC right now, and 13 teams projected to make the NCAA tournament. That's the most at 2010 when the Big East made it, according to Joe Lunardi. you look at the team. I think you guys would probably agree. Auburn is head and shoulders better than everybody else. I mean, Bruce Pearl's got an incredible team this year, 15-1 in the conference, and 27-2 overall. They just went to Rupp and won for the first time in forever. Since Bruce Pearl was an assistant at Iowa, and Mark Poe was a player in high school. That's how long it's been since the Tigers won inside Rupp Arena. Then you've got teams kind of that next level with Florida and Alabama and Tennessee and even Missouri. And what a great job Missouri has done this year in the SEC, playing really, really well. And then this is the teams that you kind of scratch your head, but then they play great one week, and that's A&M, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. And Mark Byington may be the coach of the year. I think he's done a great job at Vanderbilt. And then you've got Cal and Arkansas, a team that was on the rise and had an opportunity to take that extra step after they beat Texas in a big win at Bud Walton, and they just kind of fell apart against South Carolina. And that's kind of the rest of the teams with Georgia. And then you got Texas and Oklahoma and LSU and South Carolina. So that many teams, I think it's the best the conference has ever been in my lifetime. You look at how many players in the Southeastern Conference are playing at the upper echelon right now. We talked about the young man from Texas, Brett, that's playing so well for the Longhorns. And
Trey Johnson,
yeah. But I think you made a good point, too. There's not that one Dalton Connect this year. And, I think it was you telling me that before I really began thinking. The SEC does not have that stalwart one player. You look at Ole Miss. We were talking about the Rebels a moment ago. 5 players averaging 10 points or more. The basketball is being distributed well all across the SEC. There's so many wins throughout the conference, the regular season. I mean, you look in the top 9, 10, 11, 12 teams in the SEC do not have double-digit losses in the regular season. That is just a phenomenal stat, and it's just a testament that just the SEC has really bought in. Commissioner Sankey understanding all the schools throughout the SEC, understanding the importance of NIL, and I think the SEC is only going to get stronger.
Yeah, I think you're right. Going back to Ole Miss, you look at some of the things that Ole Miss does really well, and I think those are things that you want from a tournament team. Defensively, you've got a top 25 defense. Obviously, we know Chris Beard, Mark Adams on that staff, 2 guys that really love the defensive side of the defensive end of the court. And then this team really doesn't turn the ball over. They're really good with the ball. It feels like this team, it comes down to shot making. Can they knock down shots when it matters? When you look at these guys, I know you said Sean Padula, a really good scorer. He's the guy that you'd love to see, take that step and kind of be that guy in postseason play. Does Ole Miss have the guys that if you're in a close game late, we saw it on Saturday, a close game against Oklahoma, they were able to knock down shots late. Do they have those guys that can hit shots late in games when you need them come tourney time?
Well, real quick, you look at the metrics, and right now Ole Miss is 28, I believe, in the net. And the good thing for Ole Miss is they're undefeated in quad 2, 3, and 4 games. I think they're 5-9 in quad 1 games. So the metrics are there. They're in position. Here's the problem, Brian, I have right now with Ole Miss is rebounding, both offensive and defensive. And when you get into games against a really good competition in the SEC tournament, and mainly we're talking about the NCAA tournament, you're going to have opportunities to where you're going to have to get a big defensive board. You're going to block out on a missed free throw. You got a 3-pointer that's coming off the rim. Can you get the offensive board, get the defensive board to set up and kind of put the game away? And that's one thing they've had a hard time doing this year is getting those big rebounds. Now, I do think players like Dre Davis, he's a player that can go and get that offensive board and has done a really good job this year for Ole Miss, getting it when they need it, averaging 4.4 rebounds a game. He hadn't played a whole lot. So, that, to me, that's the key for Ole Miss. If they're going to win in the NCAA tournament, they have to improve rebounding the basketball, and that's something they just haven't done very well. I'm excited about the SEC tournament. I mean, I think that's a place where Ole Miss can make some hay. It depends on how they finish. I think right now, I mean, it's really too early to project anything, but right now they've got them playing. I think it's a 6 o'clock game on Thursday. That's a regular bye, not a double bye. And then Mississippi State playing the opening game on Wednesday, but a lot of it could flip. I mean, Mississippi State's got an opportunity to win a couple down the stretch, and Mississippi State, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Ole Miss are kind of right there, along with Texas A&M. So that's kind of where the jockeying is going to take place. The good news for the Rebels to win over Oklahoma, number one, you get off the losing end of the 3-game losing streak. But secondly, you've got one game ahead of Kentucky. You got head-to-head against Kentucky, and then Mississippi State, and then Vanderbilt. So good news for Ole Miss is they want to stay in that Thursday game, and then maybe win a game to get to that Friday game. Maybe helped your seeding just a little bit, but I just can't put into words just how big that win over Oklahoma was. It almost, for lack of a better word, saved the season for the Rebels.
Had to have it.
Yeah, you absolutely did. It's going to be fun to see what Ole Miss can do. 2 more regular season games remaining, Tennessee and Florida, and then it'll be the SEC tournament. Brad, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and let's do it again soon.
Well, I'll tell you what, Brian, I hope you had a great time at Oxford. You had a great host, and Brett Northworthy,
Yes,
he's
I
a good
did.
friend.
Thank you.
And anytime I can come on, I'll be one phone call away. Thanks a lot, guys.
You got it,
Thanks,
man.
Brad.
You got it.
Brad Logan joining us to talk
5
the Ole Miss
days in
Rebels.
Nashville at the tournament. Wednesday, Thursday,
long
Friday,
time.
Saturday, Sunday. And Wednesday may be the best day of it.
Wednesday's going to be fun. Complete 180 from what it's been in years before, where it's like, okay, first day, it's the bottom of the barrel. We'll get rid of a couple teams. Now it's like, this is a great day of action.
Couple NCAA tournament teams.
That's right. That's right. So, it's from start to finish.
The potential of Kentucky.
Yeah. The moment that ball goes
Playing
in the
on
air
Wednesday.
for the first game, every single game, it feels like it's going to be really, really big and really, really fun. So I'm excited for it, and we'll get it next week in Nashville, but always appreciate Brad hopping on with us and talking the Ole Miss Rebels. Let's get to another break, and when we return, we're going to talk more Tigers and their win yesterday against UAB. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
If you need glass replaced, there is one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass. Progressive Home Clinic Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Honey, what?
There's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do? Get down.
On the floor, you.
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy. But with Progressive's Home Clinic Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in state or situations. Wishes vary based on how you buy.
Get to the Landers Center on Tuesday, March 4th as the Memphis Hustle take on the South Bay Lakers at 7 p.m. Watch Hustle favorites like Yuki Kawamura as the Hustle fight for a spot in the G League playoffs. Tickets are available now at memphisHustle.com.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Let's Talk Sports with Brian Davis.
Well, it was a Tiger victory yesterday on the road against UAB, 88-81, the final score. A game where UAB led in the second half, really controlled a lot of that game yesterday, and then the Tigers, 52 points in the second half, able to come back and win that game. I'll tell you, Colby Rogers started getting hot early in that second half. That's when I knew no matter how big the deficit gets, Tigers are going to win this game. He finished with 21 points. P.J. Haggerty led the team with 25. A lot of that, 17 of those points came in the second half. So really good game by the Tigers. We talked about it earlier. It's March, and you're seeing it by the way Penny Hardaway is using this rotation. 30 or more minutes for 4 of the 5 starters last night.
And that's going to be the story for a lot of teams, because these games, these breaks, the long games, they're not going to get that tired. Now, you can get in foul trouble. That's one thing to the kind of shorter rotation that Coach Hardaway's had all year.
Yeah.
But to his benefit, if they stay out of foul trouble in the tournament games, and I don't know this, but I would suspect, let the refs, do you really want to be fouling out starters?
No.
If it's a foul, you got to call it.
Sure.
But just getting a ticky-tack game, a nickel and dimer, as Dick Vitale would say, or Bill Raftery would say, you don't need to get in those kind of games. Rodgers make any threes, you see how it loosens it up for P.J. Haggard.
Oh, yeah.
To then deal, to go right to the goal.
Yeah, it just makes it a lot easier for a lot of those guys, to be able to kick it out to him and have him knocking down threes. I mean, 5 for 9 yesterday from the 3-point line. It was interesting. I guess it was Wednesday night when Penny Hardaway joined the post-game show, and it was after DeMarion Yates had a good amount of minutes in that first half, and he kind of said, I wouldn't mind going to a 10-man rotation down the stretch here, and I was going, oh, okay.
He brought a burst yesterday.
He did. No, he played. The few minutes he was in there, he gave them good minutes. He's not there defensively just quite yet, and especially yesterday when you were trailing. That was the biggest factor of why these guys played so much yesterday. Is you needed them to get that comeback and get that win. But you're seeing him figure out his guys. Brock Okogie didn't see any time yesterday. Dante Harris only 6 minutes yesterday. You're seeing those guys that you need, especially in a close game like yesterday was. It's going to be the starters out there, and they were able to go out there and produce. I mean, even Tyrese Hunter, 11 points, kind of a quiet night, 0 for 4 from 3, but had 11 points, 5 rebounds, a couple of assists, a steal, did have 4 turnovers. But, he's able to do a lot, and it feels like he's the type of guy, he doesn't need to score the ball to be effective in games. He can go out there and grab rebounds or dish assists and still be a vital part of the game.
Season sweep of UAB, resounding whipping here.
Yeah.
And except for a few nervous moments yesterday, some nervous, not a lot, fairly easily dispatched yesterday at Bartow Arena. This is a UAB team that lost this year to High Point, Longwood, Illinois State, and Middle Tennessee State, and like the Tigers, lost to Arkansas State. I'm going to defend the Tiger loss to Arkansas State till my last breath, especially if ASU gets in the tournament and scares the absolute you-know-what out of someone as a 12 or 13. Brian, you often hear people go, well, that guy knows ball. He knows ball if he recognizes that. I'm going to take credit here.
Yeah.
I think I do, and I don't think the Arkansas State loss is that bad for either UAB or Memphis.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. It's going to be tough for Arkansas State. I think they're a 4 seed in their conference tournament. I mean, a really tough
a
Sun
good
Belt
conference.
this year. Yeah. So it's not going to be easy for them. But yeah, no, I don't think a bad loss for either of those teams. And some of those other teams you listed off, I think are good teams. High Point is a team.
They got votes this week.
They sure did. Longwood, a team that is tough to play. This UAB team that very early needed some time to figure out who they were, and started playing better once conference time got here. But yeah, I mean, Tigers, they made it look easy for a large portion of the 2 games against UAB. Obviously, a lot scarier yesterday, but here in Memphis, it wasn't even a matchup. Really.
Pretty good game tonight in the AAC. Wichita State at North Tech. No, I'm sorry, that's not tonight. Yes, that is tonight.
Yeah,
that is tonight. And then tomorrow night, the 2 games. Then Wednesday night, no games. Thursday night, 4 games. The Tigers on Friday night. No games on Saturday and 5 games on Sunday in the AAC.
Yeah, weird. The Sunday has been the staple for the American all season long, but certainly not Friday. The Friday night Memphis game is very strange.
I like it.
I'm fine with
Wrapping it up.
Yeah, I mean, plenty of time for the Tigers to rest, a whole week off for them before they'll have to play in the conference tournament. But just kind of weird scheduling there. I don't love it. I would have rather that game be on a Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, I mean, get off your legs and get a whole week to recover, and then you'll start conference tournament time.
I was 14-4 in conference for the Tigers in preseason predictions. I said earlier, nobody had 16-2.
No.
Nobody did,
No,
right?
No, not at all. No.
And that's what they're going to finish at.
That's right. Yeah, and these next two games, should be I think easy wins.
I think they surpassed most predictions for non. I was 8-5, 9. They go 10-3.
No, they absolutely did. I mean, you look at that non-conference schedule. Everyone had them dropping a couple more than they did. I mean, that was an impossible non-conference schedule. And
so today in the poll, for whatever it's worth, whatever you want to take out of it,
sure.
16th. What? 2 more polls next week,
right.
and then one after. Do they do one after conference tournament? Does AP?
I think they do.
So
don't quote me.
Gonna finish, really good there. I say great season.
Yeah, no, it's been a great season. They have very few times have they looked out of sorts, and they're locked in. It seems like the chemistry on this team
I'm not
is
changing my bar. I said get to the tournament.
Yep.
They're going to. Great season.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you. It's been fun to watch, and they played really well. And now, like you mentioned, 2 more games until you get some time off and get to the conference tournament. I think we'll be favored in every game of the conference tournament.
What's the profile of a team in the tournament? We have the bracket in our hands 2 weeks from today. We'll better understand if they're going to face somebody like this. But what's the profile you don't want to run into?
A team with dominant bigs. And now maybe that changes with Dane, but it might
more
not.
than talented guards.
I think so. I think you have confidence in your guards. Just with the foul trouble and the way we've seen the bigs play at times, I don't think.
If I had to do a scouting report for Memphis,
bigs.
I would have a couple of possessions, a lot of possessions running zone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've seen every team that throws zone at Memphis. Memphis has
But
problems.
a lot of
with it.
people hadn't practiced the down to zone.
No. And you saw UAB go into a zone yesterday, and it gave Memphis some trouble. And so, the teams that have it in their back pocket, they throw it at the Tigers, and it takes. Yeah, there have been some games where the Tigers, couple possessions, they struggle with it, and then they figure it out. But you at least see them early on getting a zone thrown at them. Really struggle seeing it. But hey, we'll see what the Tigers can do the rest of the week, and then we'll be in the conference tournament and plenty of time to get ready for that because they won't play until Friday. But let's wrap up this first hour and get to a break. When we return, we're talking a whole lot of college basketball with David Cobb.
With XMC Technologies, your local source for the best in office technology for over 30 years. We believe that being a technology partner means meeting our clients' needs as they change over time. That's why I'm happy to share that we are now Visual Edge IT. As cyber attacks continue to be a growing threat, our customers are asking for more cybersecurity and ransomware protection. For more information on how to protect your office, visit us at visualedgeit.com or call us locally 901-737-8910.
If I had a nickel for every time somebody has recognized me as the spokesperson for Central Barbecue, one of the spokespeople, I wouldn't have a nickel because we do these for the radio. But I'm proud to be the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. You know what I mean? I'm proud because all of us who do this have had to do ads for things we didn't necessarily believe in.
Yeah, I know I have.
I know you have too.
Hey.
But we get to tell everyone about Central Barbecue, the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call 5 Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, for speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Traffic's on the increase. 240 east from Mill Branch all the way out to 385. Bill Morris Parkway headed out towards Collierville through the Midtown area. Pretty normal right now, if you want to call it that, on 240 southbound at South Parkway all the way down past Norris. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64, is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joins us now to talk some college basketball. Go read his work over at CBS Sports. David, thanks so much for joining us. A lot to get to, but let's start with the Memphis Tigers. They were winners yesterday over UAB on the road, a hostile environment, a game where they trailed for more than, I believe, 25 minutes of that game yesterday, but ultimately down the stretch, they were able to take advantage and get that win. Over this last week, you had a really close game that ended up Tigers won by double digits against Rice, but 2 minutes left and it's a 2-point game, and then the win over UAB yesterday. What have you made of what the Tigers did last week with those 2 wins?
Yeah, they've obviously found the finishing gear. That's great. If I were advising an opposing coach right now that was devising a scouting report for a game against Memphis, the one thing I would tell them is, okay, obviously, yeah, P.J. Haggerty's great, Dane Dainge is on his tear, but my gosh, do not forget to box out Nick Jourdain. Like, that man is a beast on the offensive glass. He had a couple of huge putback dunks late in that game against UAB, and he's one of those guys. It's like, you got to know where he is when a shot goes up, because he's just coming out of nowhere to make big-time, gritty, game-winning sort of plays. And so an unsung hero throughout this Memphis basketball season, I think, is Nick Jourdain, because, Dainge is getting a lot of love, and rightfully so, and the guards have been awesome, and they get their due. And then, meanwhile, you got a guy like Nick Jourdain. I think most coaches would kill for somebody like that, somebody who plays defense at a high level, crashes the glass, and just does a lot of the little things right for you.
David, the Tigers have had a great year, haven't they?
No doubt. It's absolutely been a great year.
And with that, 2 weeks from today, we'll have the bracket in front of us. I won't ask you this again next week, but I will in 2 weeks when we have it in front of us. What are your expectations for the Tigers in the tournament?
Yeah, so I expect them to win a game in the NCAA tournament, which is something they've only done once, to this point under Penny Hardaway, and then I expect them to be competitive in a second-round game too. I mean, so you'd love to see them get to that second weekend. It feels like that would be success. I think that's how I would judge whether or not it's a success. Do you get to the second weekend? Now, I don't think if you lose the second-round game that it's a failure. I'm not saying that. But I do feel like if you go through this season you get into the NCAA tournament and then you lose your first round game. You know, I feel like that's a disappointing. I feel like you can call it a disappointment at that point and be correct. So, you know, I think a success would be making the second weekend. And then, you know, disappointment would be losing in the first round. Now, if you lose in the second round, you know, it's sort of depending on the circumstances. Who are you playing? What happened? Why did it go the way it did? You know, we can sort of make a determination on that.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to my preseason expectations and my preseason prediction, and that was just get in the tournament after missing it last year. They do that. I've already said a couple times today, I'm already pleased. They're going to be in the tournament. I say great year no matter what happens. First round, heartbreaker. Second round, stumble, whatever it is. Anything after that, I don't think it needs a whole lot of explanation. I'm gonna stay with that, and then preseason next year, I might raise it again. But until preseason next year, I'm not going to do that to Penny Hardaway and to this team and these fans after that agonizing end to last year.
No, so I absolutely think relative to where expectations were in October, everything from here on out is gravy. I mean, this team is going to the NCAA tournament, and I would have struggled to believe that with all the chaos that was around the program. You know, 6 weeks before the season.
The letter, the coaching staff, everything around it.
And so the fact that they've gotten this far, I mean, yes, Penny Hardaway has reset the clock to a certain extent on his tenure. Now, he can't go out and go 11-21 next season. I'm not saying that, but like he has bought himself a lot of goodwill with a new administration, and there is a path forward here that we didn't necessarily see back in October. And so from that standpoint, no doubt.
Does he deserve a new deal?
Maybe an extension. I would say. I mean, just kind of, yeah. I mean, I would think so. Given the job that he's done this season, given the teams that they've beat, given the fact they've lived
champions, coach of the year, 10-3 non, 16-2 in conference. If that's not meritorious of a new deal, what do you got to do to get one?
Well, most coaches under those circumstances would get one, and Penny Hardaway probably should too. So. Yeah, I mean, I say, hey, you got to make the Sweet 16 for this. Given what we've seen from this team, you know, you recalibrate the expectations. But if you're going by the October expectations, my gosh, they've blown those away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Brett asked me at the end of the last hour what type of profile of a team Memphis does not want to see in the tournament. I said a team that
I left you hanging with that a minute to go. I'm sorry.
It's okay, but my profile of a team Memphis doesn't want to see, I think, is a team with dominant bigs, physical bigs. We see Memphis's bigs. They've gotten into foul trouble a lot this year. You saw a couple weeks ago against Wichita State, Quincy Ballard, who I don't think is anything to write home about, but he's a big physical big man, and he gave some of the bigs issues. What's the profile? What kind of profile do you think Memphis doesn't want to run into in the tournament? What kind of profile would Memphis have success against?
Yeah, no. So you're describing a team with bigs. Michigan State comes to mind as a potential matchup problem for Memphis. I mean, they've got more bigs than they know what to do with. They're really gritty defensively. That type of team could be a problem for Memphis. I think it'd be hard for Memphis to get quality looks. And Michigan State has a ton of fouls to go around. I mean, they're not going to worry about getting in foul trouble because they play 10 guys. So they would make life really hard on P.J. Haggerty trying to get to the paint. Getting a clean look off in the post would be tough for Dane Danger, in a matchup like that, as opposed to the caliber of big that he's gotten used to seeing in the AAC. So I agree, a matchup like that would be a problem. As for advantageous matchups, teams that are susceptible to high pressure, high intensity sort of styles of play, because that's what Memphis is going to bring. They're going to bring that up tempo, athleticism on you, and if you're not ready for that, that can be a problem. So I look at a lot of teams, if they ended up matched up with A10 champion VCU, I think VCU would struggle with what Memphis does, right? Because they're a good team, but I don't know that they have the athletes, nor have they seen the type of pressure and intensity that a team like Memphis would bring. So I would say sign me up for a game against a mid-major conference champion because I just don't think most of those teams have seen a team of Memphis's intensity.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. Getting away a little bit from the Tigers and just kind of going to the SEC. Arkansas. I mean, what happened with the Razorbacks on Saturday? Only 14 points in the first half against South Carolina. Now, it was on the road against South Carolina. South Carolina, while they have struggled to pick up wins, they've been pretty good, a lot better at home than on the road. But what do you see in this Arkansas team? They pick up a big win midweek last week against Texas, but then on the road against South Carolina, lose by 19 points. So what did you see in that one?
Well, for one thing, they're running out of players because the Duke Arrow is hurt. And Boogie Blanded, it seems, is out for the season. So this was always the problem with Arkansas. It's like, I think there's only 10 scholarship guys on that roster, and I'm pretty sure Cal only trusts 8 of them, and 2 of them are hurt. So it's like, it's the same thing that Kentucky's dealing with now, where they're just running out of bodies, but Mark Pope at least added the three-star freshman to give him a reserve line to a certain extent. And Arkansas doesn't have that reserve line, and so they're down numbers. And then they just fell right into the trap that that South Carolina set for them, which was, hey, we're just going to give you guys 2-point jump shots. And then Arkansas missed all of them. And so Arkansas is already a team that doesn't always play the most analytically sound. And then South Carolina baited them into taking a bunch of 17-foot jump shots. I mean, as a result, we saw one of the most horrendous first-half box scores I can imagine John Calipari has ever produced.
It was hard to believe. Bryant shows me the box score. We're sitting at Ole Miss at the Pavilion. It was hard to take it all in that Arkansas was that bad after me being there on Wednesday night for one of the best games I've been to in person ever. Yeah, the Jacqueline Hyde, because you thought they got over the hump with the win over Texas, and then no, maybe not. Maybe not at all. So I still think. And is Texas anything? So I'm starting to believe that Texas and Oklahoma are both going to miss the NCAA tournament. So my number for the SEC right now, I think, is at 12. So that would include Arkansas still getting in. I think Arkansas is still going to find a way. Because you know what? They're not supposed to look at like, it didn't look good, right? Like, it's a loss, but I don't know if... Worst bubble ever, David. Mm-hmm. The biggest argument for never expanding this tournament is this year's bubble. Oh, man, I totally agree. I think expansion is ridiculous because then you're looking at teams that... You'd be considering teams that haven't beaten a single NCAA tournament team at that point. Wait till we go to 40 games and you get a coach bragging about winning 20 games. Right? It's crazy. I am firmly in the anti-expansion camp, and I was encouraged to see Dan Gavitt come out and tell CBS within the past week or so that, look, there's a lot of bluster out there about this being a done deal, and it's not. And I trust him. I think he's sincere in that. So, hopefully there's still a chance for cooler heads to prevail and for everybody out there to realize the NCAA tournament is just fine the way it is and does not need to be expanded. Yeah, I almost want to eliminate Dayton. I want to go to 64. I'd be fine with it. The first 4 is lame. We got to write about it every year, and I'm like, this is lame. Now, every once in a while, it is, David. You're right. UCLA made that run to the Final Four. I'll give them that, right? Like that's cool, and that's the case for keeping it is that you get a team. Wasn't that COVID year too? Yeah, you get a team that can make that run from the first 4. I get it, but. The play-ins for the 16s, those don't move the needle for me at all. Those are tough to watch. I love Bryant Dacus, but Bryant versus Alcorn State, come on now. Well, yeah. Go Bulldogs. Hey, Bryant's got former Memphis Tiger Earl Timberlake in his 11th year of college basketball.
It's been great for them, too. He's leading them in a bunch of categories. He's older now than Justin Timberlake. Well, yeah, feels like He's been around, man. He sure has. He's been around. David, your alma mater, Tennessee, they got a big win on Saturday at home against Alabama. Mashburn with the logo 3 to win it. Not the guy I want taking logo 3s. Meshack. I'm sorry. But he was able to drill it. String music. It was beautiful. That shot, that play. That was the John Ward bottom, wasn't it, David? And how cool that Bob Kessling gets that because he's going out. That's right. This year, his last basketball season. And I'll say this, guys: when John Ward was retiring, his last season, the football team won the national championship. Bob Kessling, who I think has always been at his best in basketball, he's calling it quits after this basketball season. So I'm just saying, the last time the play-by-play voice hung it up, the Vols rewarded him with a national title.
just keep your eye on the basketball team. They might bring something for Bob Kessling, but no, that was crazy, and I think it put Tennessee back onto the projected number 1 seed line, which would be a program first. They've never been a number 1 seed. They probably deserved it a few years ago, but they didn't get any reward for winning the SEC tournament, and now they've got a real shot at it. Like you look at Florida, you look at Alabama, they're still going to have something to say about it, but man, Tennessee, with what they've done, their resume is starting to stack up quite nicely to get them into that one seed conversation.
David, so very interesting you would say that about Bob Kessling and basketball. I'm with you. That does not at all denigrate or I meant to criticize his football abilities. I thought the same thing for John Ward. Yes, the John Ward. Counting down to checker, to the end zone. I thought he was better in basketball than in football. He was great in football, but I preferred him. I thought his best was in basketball, and he would do basketball as a one-man band. No analyst. Didn't have anybody keeping statistics. No engineer. He was there carrying the stuff by himself, doing it all. And Bob Kessling in basketball with the team of Burt Bertelkamp, it's as good as any listen out there.
Yeah, Bob and Burt, man, they are iconic, and they're great together, great chemistry. Bob also has a really cool relationship with Rick Barnes. Like, I think that helped provide him the insight to call these games the way he calls them. And so they've got a cool relationship. Now it's going to be interesting moving into the future. Mike Keith, I'm sure he's called basketball at times in his career, but it's been a long, long time since he's called basketball regularly. Now he's coming in from the voice of the Titans, and he won't just be doing Tennessee football; he's going to be doing Tennessee men's basketball as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. He's got a lot of talent; I'm sure he can do it well. But yeah, I mean, I've always thought that Bob was phenomenal, especially on the basketball side.
Who was your favorite football analyst with Bob? Tim Priest for me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Tim Priest is an absolute legend. I mean,
Humboldt boy.
Yeah, absolutely. West Tennessee, shout out.
He was proud of it too.
Yeah. Boy, so when I was there, both as a student and as a beat writer, there were just some really, tough years, man. And I felt so bad for Tim Priest to have to go up there and sort of put lipstick on the pig sometimes. And then he got to a point where he stopped putting lipstick on the pig. He would call it what it was. And I thought that's what made him so great, is that he could pretty well encapsulate the misery of Tennessee's fan base at that time with a quick one-liner. And you knew it was coming from a place of sincerity and care because of what he obviously means to that program. So, yeah, shout out Bob Kessling. He's always been great to me in my interactions with him. And, he's got one last little rodeo here, and these balls are doing something special for him.
Yeah, they absolutely are. Talking to David Cobb. He joins us every week from CBS Sports, talk college football and college basketball. It's Florida all over Texas A&M Saturday night, 89-70. That's now 4 straight losses for the Aggies, and it comes down to the offensive end of the court. They're just really struggling to knock down shots, and you look at the last 2 games, and you could really go back further, but Wade Taylor IV just has not been very good as of late in that game against Florida. 3 for 11 from the field, has not shot better than about 36% since February 1st against South Carolina. He's got to be better for Texas A&M to make a run. Now they got Auburn this week. How far do you see this A&M team going?
So they are always up and down under Buzz Williams. I think they have a 4 to 6 game losing streak pretty much every year for like the last 5 years. I'm maybe exaggerating slightly, but this is in character for Texas A&M. So I'd actually buy stock in them right now, if for no other reason than I've always seen them snap out of it. They always seem to find a way to follow up their horrific losing streak with a 10-game winning streak. If they were to do that, that would have them in San Antonio. So I'm slightly sarcastic in that, but I don't rule out the chance that, especially once you get to the NCAA tournament, Texas A&M just physically overwhelming some of the teams that it plays because they are just ferocious on the offensive glass. A team like Florida is one of the few in the country that are actually equipped to deal with that because they are so big and good on the boards themselves. Now you get up against a Big East team, an ACC team, somebody from a lower league, you can kind of manhandle them on the glass. So I wouldn't fade Texas A&M in the tournament yet based on what we've seen. But I will say I would fade Buzz Williams as a legitimate candidate for Indiana because I think Indiana fans have way too much appreciation for the game of basketball to put up with the style of play that would come with hiring Buzz Williams. It's not pretty. And that's a fan base that understands basketball. And I don't think they would be pleased with the style of play that Buzz Williams produces.
David, I was today years old, as I told Bryant when I discovered it today.
He did.
To learn that the ACC and the Big 10 will not have everyone to their conference tournament. 18-team leagues, both. 16, 17, and 18 will not advance to Charlotte for the ACC or Indianapolis for the Big 10. One of those teams in the ACC could be last year's Final Four team in NC State.
How about that? Yeah.
Nuts.
It is. Now that I'm going to have a chance to run the table through the ACC tournament this year, that's tough. It's a good thing Kevin Keats made that run because he was maybe going to get fired before the end of last season, but then you make a Final Four, you buy yourself another season. So he bought himself 2 years of continued employment essentially with that run. Yeah, that's crazy. And it's I think it adds a little bit of intrigue to this last week of the regular season for some of those teams that are on the cut line. Like, for example, I'll give you Rutgers. I mean, they're a team that when they're on, they're really good. They got Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, a couple lottery picks on their team. And they were up 11 on the road at Michigan the other night. And it's like, if you can get to that point, like you're clearly good enough to make a run. They're just one of those teams that struggled to finish games. And so they're one of those teams where it's like if they get into the Big Ten tournament, they've got the talent to make a run, but we don't even know if they're going to get into the conference tournament. You know, so it adds a layer of intrigue. But I will say I'm kind of glad the SEC is sticking with everybody getting in. I think it's going to make the that first day in Nashville really exciting.
Yeah, and 16 teams versus 18 too. Yeah,
it's a lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more simple to create a 16-team bracket than an 18-team bracket. And you know, that's another example of why I actually appreciate the SEC approaching realignment and expansion with a little bit of sanity in terms of both geography and then in terms of like teams and scheduling. You know, they're going to be able to do a football schedule that actually makes a whole lot more sense than some of these Big Ten and ACC schedules that are just woefully imbalanced. So I appreciate the SEC at least having some semblance of symmetry with the way they approach expansion.
Why was I the last to know about Big Ten and ACC? David knew it. Bryant knew it. David, when did you know it? September, October? Bryant said he knew it all year.
I can't remember when they announced it, but I'm gonna say it was football brain. There was probably something football going on for you, Stats. That I'll give you a pass for that.
Constantly got football brain,
of course. Speaking of the ACC, Duke has looked so good, but it sounds like their assistant coach Jay Lucas will be the next head coach at Miami. It sounds like that will become official as early as next week. But I saw this news earlier today that it sounds like Jay Lucas is trying to convince the Columbus High School head coach to join his staff at Miami, which is notable because the Boozer twins currently play for him at Columbus down in Miami. Could we see the Boozer twins flip from Duke to Miami?
Crazy. I mean, this is one of the, I think, most under-discussed storylines right now in all of college sports. I mean, this is crazy. You have Jay Lucas essentially trying to pull a coup here. He is employed by Duke University, actively trying to get highly committed players who are currently committed to Duke to decommit to Duke and go play for him at Miami, all while he is still sitting in Duke meetings and wearing Duke shirts. I mean, this is insane. That this is happening. And John Shire's got to I would have cut ties with him the day that I learned that he was talking to Miami. I mean, this is like. I don't know what's the equivalent. I mean, it's essentially what happened with Lane Kiffin working for Nick Saban, where Saban got tired of him being too invested in his next job at FAU. Except the difference is Alabama and FAU don't play in the same conference. You know, they weren't recruiting the same players, and Saban still got fed up with Kiffin being distracted. Now you got Jay Lucas trying to recruit for a conference rival, trying to sway two of the best prospects in the country. To go with him to Miami. This is crazy. And the fact that, you know, that it's not really being talked about all that much, it blows my mind. Because if I were John Shire right now, I would be livid. I would be livid over this and feeling like I've been betrayed, to be honest.
He sure should. Who's the 3 or 4 person list at Indiana? You mentioned Buzz Williams. Who else is on it? Chris Beard, I'm sure, is on it.
Yeah, you're hearing Greg McDermott a lot, and I think part of that is he's woefully underpaid at Creighton. He's in the 50s nationally for a guy who's made some deep NCAA tournament runs and really put that program on the map at a pretty high level in the Big East. So you're hearing his name quite a bit. So wouldn't be shocked if he gets a pretty serious look. So it's Buzz Williams, Greg McDermott, Chris Beard, I think, is still probably in the mix. Outside of that, it's been relatively quiet, which almost makes you wonder if maybe they know who they've got.
Would you be more shocked of an SEC hire of Will Wade or Greg Marshall back at a good job?
I'd be more shocked by Greg Marshall.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance that we could see Will Wade this cycle. I thought we might see him last cycle make the jump from McNeese.
Is Greg Marshall at Guantanamo?
Yeah.
Well, I could see Greg Marshall getting back in at like a lower tier, like low major Southland Conference.
Really?
Yeah, I think the sort of stigma there is kind of strong still with regard to it was allegations of player mistreatment, player abuse,
hands
all those
on them,
things. Yeah, I think those things are maybe even harder to come back from than obviously Chris Beard's come back from a domestic violence allegation and all that sort of stuff. He was also cleared by law enforcement. There's the problem with Greg Marshall is there were never charges. It's all just sort of his reputation basically. So it's not even like a judge can throw it out. I mean, it's just a stigma that's there.
Yeah. It's Indiana. That's going to be the big job to keep an eye on this offseason. You mentioned Will Wade. I mean, McNeese right back. It sounds like they're going to make the tournament. They're the heavy favorites in the Southland, so it's going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on all these coaching searches. But David, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
David Cobb joining us from CBS Sports. Talk some college basketball.
Miami, no chance to be in the ACC tournament, and they're ready for it to end.
They're ready to move on, and like I said, it sounds like
2 years ago.
Crazy
in the NCAA tournament or Final Four.
Yeah, and now to the bottom of the barrel in what has not been a good ACC this year, and so they're ready to move on. Sounds like Jay Lucas will be the guy, could be announced as early as next week.
That's some dirty dealing, isn't
That's crazy. I mean, he's the lead recruiter for the Boozer Twins, and now trying to go and hire their head
Nobody
coach.
more Duke than that name.
No, I mean, it's weird. It's very strange. And Miami and Duke were the two finalists for
that's
the
bad
Boozer
blood
Twins.
stuff forever.
So, and same conference. You'll be seeing them every year. I mean, it's gonna be
High
fun.
hard one. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I guess. Ready as I'll ever be.
Are you always bound to accept an apology? So if Jay Lucas pulls this, 5, 8, 10 years from now, John, he goes to John Shire, I'm sorry, I was young trying to get started. Forgive me. Are you bound to always accept an apology?
I don't think you're bound to it. I think it's the nice thing to do, but I don't think you're bound.
Well, then they have the upper hand on you. That means I can.
It's true. That's true.
Put it right to the keister, and then I can say I'm sorry, and it's all forgiven.
That's true. I don't think you're bound to it. I don't think so. I mean, if you feel wrong, you feel wrong.
Can you respectfully go, no, I don't accept?
I think so.
I think so, too.
I think so. And if I'm Shire, I might say might be what I say if Jay Lucas goes and steals
You better think about what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's late in the cycle. I mean, if obviously transfer portal changes everything, but if you go out and lose, that's number 3 and number 24 in the rankings
and Boozers
right now. Exactly, his last name speaks everything. So yeah, that'd be wild, but it's something that's certainly going on behind the scenes right now with Duke and with Miami. Definitely a story. I like what David said. Not many people talking about it, but it's something to keep an eye on. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break. When we come back, we got to talk a whole lot of bracketology. Shelby Mast from BracketWag.com. He joins us next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports
56. You know, if I had a nickel for every time somebody has recognized me as the spokesperson for Central Barbecue, one of the spokespeople, I wouldn't have a nickel because we do these for the radio. But I'm proud to be the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. You know what I mean? I'm proud because all of us who do this have had to do ads for things we didn't necessarily believe in.
Yeah, I know I have.
I know you have too.
Hey.
But we get to tell everyone about Central Barbecue, the best barbecue in Memphis.
In the world. If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass.
Football fans, the Memphis Showboats are back in action with more of the football you love. Join the Showboats at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium March 30th for the opening weekend of the 2025 UFL season as the Boats take on the Michigan Panthers. Kickoff is 11 a.m. Head to UFLShowboats.com now to get your tickets and get more of the touchdown celebrating, high-fiving, bell-ringing action you love. That's UFLShowboats.com. Go Boats!
Brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company. This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Multiple cars were involved in this earlier wreck on 240 westbound just before Bill Morris Parkway. It's still slow with a lot of rubbernecking going on 240 westbound between Walnut Grove all the way down to you get to Bill Morris Parkway. It's heavy over on the eastbound side, but that's pretty much typical for this time of the afternoon on 240 east up by Poplar. Hey, if your lawn needs some help, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here with over 30 years experience. Call Lawn Solutions right now. 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and we're only a couple weeks away until the official bracket is revealed. I'll give you the countdown because it's on bracketwag.com. 16 days, 17 hours, 42 minutes, and 10 seconds away from madness beginning. Shelby Mast from bracketwag.com. He joins us every week to talk bracketology. And today, Shelby, you have the Memphis Tigers still as an 8 seed. They would play Creighton in the 8-9. Winner would get Auburn. What does Memphis need to do to get off that 8 line and get up to either a 7 or maybe even a 6?
Win out. I'm close to putting them at a 7, but I don't think anybody right above them has done enough losing to get down to the 8 line. But as soon as they do, then Memphis will jump up. That was a good win yesterday.
It was.
Good team.
Shelby,
And,
right in front of Memphis on your bracket is Ole Miss. Memphis beat them by 17 late December. Head-to-head, time of year, how much should it matter?
It actually does not matter too much at all. It'll only matter when you're coming down to two teams for one spot, and Ole Miss is on the 7 line, but there's the top of the 7, and Memphis is the top of the 8. If they were in a position where they were battling each other for the last 7 seed, then I could possibly see it. But when they played was so early in the year, a lot has changed for both teams.
All right, then what do you say to the people, like what I'm getting ready to say to me? Don't ever play Ole Miss again. Play Middle Tennessee instead.
That'd take a little bit of a hit in the net, but that's not a bad strategy.
But the net's already hit. You look at Memphis in the net, and today it is 40. Seven?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Something like that. So the net's already taken a hit. I don't. If head to head doesn't matter, I don't think you should ever play at Memphis 45 in the net today. So kind of dang if you do, dang if you don't.
Kind of. If Ole Miss was way up in the top 10 of the net, then I'd say play.
Mm-hmm.
But they're kind of lingering around 30, so you're not really doing yourselves any favor by beating them.
Right now, today, with the countdown Bryant gave the countdown clock that you have up on your great site, would you call this year an easy year or a hard year for bracketing?
It's kind of easy near the top, but it's becoming a real pain in the rear down at the bottom, the bubble. I mean, we have fewer teams that are looking like bubble teams, but they keep losing.
It's a terrible bubble.
It's really, and I don't know why they're thinking about expanding. That would be a horrible idea.
It sure would be, Shelby. We just had David Cobb on from CBS, and this year is the best example of don't mess with it.
Yeah, I know NCAA is all about money, and so money trumps all, but don't water this down.
No, absolutely not. Arkansas is the last team in the bracket for you. They're the last team in the last 4 in. Seeing what they did on the road against South Carolina did not make me feel good about them. They got the win earlier in the week against Texas. What does Arkansas need to do down the stretch to feel comfortable on Selection Sunday?
I don't know if unless they win the Southeast Conference tournament, I don't know that they would feel comfortable come Selection Sunday.
Yeah.
If they keep riding this roller coaster, I know the committee member or chairman a couple weeks ago said, one game, we're not judging you just on that game. It's the entire body of work, which is fair. But Arkansas knew what they had to do, and boy, that laid an egg big time.
They sure did. And I was at the Arkansas-Oklahoma game on Wednesday night, and then Brian and I both were at Ole Miss and Oklahoma on Saturday. I don't think any, except for Ole Miss, I don't think Texas is deserving. I don't think Arkansas or Oklahoma is deserving. But then who is? If they're not, they're going to have 68. If they're not in, is TCU, is Cincinnati, is Stanford. I mean, who is if they're not?
I don't know. I mean, that's what's making this so difficult. Usually we have 1 to 4 teams right outside the bubble that I feel comfortable putting in, but this year there's not any, and I have some in that I feel should be out. I just moved Boise State in. Are they deserving? I don't know. They've got a solid enough profile, but lack of options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Looking at the top of your bracket, number 1, Auburn, 2, Duke, 3, Tennessee, 4, Florida. Those are your number 1 seeds. Then right outside, 5 and 6, Houston and Alabama. How close are Houston and Alabama? Houston, a big game tonight on a Monday. How close are Houston and Alabama to getting to a 1 seed?
They're very close. I wrestled with Florida and Houston for a long time, and I went in and kept Florida up there because the committee had them 2 weeks ago, and they really haven't done enough, I feel, to move off. And Houston was in the 8th spot, so they've moved up nicely. But I just couldn't pull the trigger to move them on up. And watch out for Michigan State also. They're hanging in there.
Yeah, and Memphis beat Michigan State. Memphis beat Missouri. Memphis beat Clemson. All those teams are ahead of Memphis in just about every bracketology site. Shelby, what bracketologist? I know you don't want to advertise for anybody else, but I know you're friends with a lot of people that do it. What's your go-to? Do you look at this person's bracket and go, yeah, he might be on to something there? Who is that?
Probably bracket guy Dave, Dave Almond. He's a good guy, and he's very smart and meticulous with his bracket, and I sure have enjoyed being on the committee with him. And with the other guys on the committee, they all bring something that I don't, but they're all very good and very knowledgeable. And but I think Dave would probably be the big guy.
Yeah, Dave. His bracket is a lot of fun as well. Texas A&M, we talked about them last week. Now 4 losses in a row. You still have them on the 3 line. How do you feel about this Texas A&M team right now?
A couple weeks ago, I felt really, really good. Now, not so much. I had them on the 4 line yesterday, but Michigan lost by 20 at home to Illinois, and I couldn't feel good about keeping Michigan or moving Purdue or any of the others on the 4 line, so I put A&M back up there, and it's not with confidence.
It's a coach-driven sport. They're the stars of the sport. They're the constant. What coach do you like the most that's in the mix as a 1, 2, or 3 seed to potentially win it all?
This year, Bruce Pearl, obviously, and I think Patino.
Yeah,
that he's had a great year, and I don't know many guys on teams anymore because they change every year. But St. John's, there's nobody that I feel has really broken out and become a star. That's just a good, well-coached team.
There's a couple coaches that I don't trust, Buzz Williams being one of them. The Arizona coach, another.
Yeah, those are 2 for me. Keep an eye on where they end up, and then you want to drop down the 5 line. Used to be the UT coach. I can't think of his name.
Rick Barnes.
No, then Marquette.
Oh, Shock
Smart.
Yeah,
that's it. That's another guy that I don't trust in March.
I don't know that I'm that enthralled by even Bill Self right now under these circumstances. I know what he's done historically, but I know how last year ended. I know how this year is going.
Yeah, it's not good. They could end up on the 6th line, and that would be kind of unprecedented. I had a Kansas fan I was kind of joking with yesterday. I made a comment that Boise State would probably move in and take Kansas's place. And the guy said, that's fine. This team's dead to me anyways.
Love Grant McCaslin at Texas Tech. Liked him around here at Arkansas State, and then when Memphis would play him at North Texas.
Yeah, they've done a nice job this year.
Absolutely have. I saw a interesting tweet earlier today talking about Gonzaga, and this person was pointing out that, well, if the selection committee looks at more metrics and stuff like that, Gonzaga is going to be higher because, right now number 8 in the net. But if you just look at what they've done on the court, you take the record, you look at that resume, they'll be down around the 8-9. You have Gonzaga on the 9 line, the second 9 seed behind Utah State. This certainly isn't a Gonzaga team like we've seen in recent years. What do you think about this Gonzaga team?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they're good. They're not 5 seed good, but I'm gun shy on them because last year the committee, they put them at a 5 seed, and they were not a 5 seed. I put them at 7. I thought I was being generous, and boy, was I wrong. So I may just kind of hedge my bets a little just because of that.
You had an early completion to yesterday's action. Tonight won't be too bad on you, but starting tomorrow and into the weekend, it's going to be – right now we're looking at the schedule. I mean, there's a couple of days from 10 o'clock in the morning on, there's ball.
Yeah. I'm preparing myself, and I've got radio calling 7:30 in the morning. I'm dreading that.
What town? Where? With whom?
One of them's in Michigan, and the other one's in South Florida.
Good. 'Cause I see on your Twitter feed where you always join a crew in Fayetteville, don't you?
I have. I got a weekly in Omaha and a weekly in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, with Jordy Holtberg, the old
That's
LSU
right.
player.
That's right.
Dale Brown's sweet shooting lefty in the early days at LSU.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He is
I
a good
agree.
guy.
Yeah.
But he changed his schedule this year where I'm every Monday at 8:15.
Good deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun.
Well,
I mean,
sleep
March
when you
is here.
can.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
Sleep when the tournament's over, I guess. But
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun next couple of weeks. See how the bracket gets figured out before Selection Sunday. Shelby, as always, thanks so
Thank you,
much for
Shelby.
joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. And I just want to throw one plug in there. Starting Thursday night, me and that mock committee will be live on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to make our mock selections a week early.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Be ready.
Yeah.
We will be.
We will definitely
Shelby,
watch
enjoy.
Thanks, Shelby.
Thank you.
You got
Shelby Mass joining us from bracketwag.com. Make sure and go check out his bracket. He's updating it daily. No need to wait till Tuesdays or Fridays like Joe Lenardi. You can get it every single day with Shelby Mast over at bracketwag.com. I did go over and look. He gave a shout out to bracket guy Dave. I went over to see Dave Amon's bracket where he has the Tigers. He has Memphis as a 6 seed today. This is updated this morning. Memphis is a 6 seed playing the winner of Arkansas and Nebraska in Wichita. I'd like that. I'd be fine with that. Don't know if I want to go back to Wichita. I've had enough of Wichita.
Yeah, I have too.
I want to be somewhere other than Wichita, but I wouldn't mind. I would love Arkansas in the first round.
I said it Friday. I said it on Friday after seeing the Razorbacks on Wednesday. I was off on Thursday. I said I thought if Arkansas and Memphis played, Memphis would beat them 10.
Yeah.
This weekend did not dissuade me from that.
No, it certainly didn't. I mean, it was all South Carolina. It could have been. I mean, it could have been.
And I know
much
the
worse.
resumes of the two, but the on the court coaching of this year's team, I don't think there's the coaching gap that most would stereotype.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it'd be a fun matchup. Certainly, a lot going into it. Obviously with Cal, and then obviously with a few of his players that have Memphis ties. So that would be. I mean,
Would
sign me
have
up
to wear
yesterday.
Memphis State jerseys that day, wouldn't they?
Got to.
A must.
I don't care who is in charge of what jerseys you're wearing. Don't put it up to a vote. Nothing. You're wearing Memphis State in that one, and that would be a ton of fun. And we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But you're seeing a lot of places the potential of Memphis and Arkansas. Let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we return, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a moving that fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving. Progressive Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare rates, so shopping for insurance might be the easiest part of owning a home. Definitely easier than this.
Honey, what?
There's a salesman walking up the driveway.
Oh no, he's got a clipboard.
What do we do? Get down.
On the floor, you.
Shoot, did he see us?
Why are you breathing so loud?
Home ownership isn't easy. But with Progressive's Home Quote Explorer, shopping for home insurance is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in states or situations. Wishes vary based on how you buy.
Get to the Landers Center on Tuesday, March 4th as the Memphis Hustle take on the South Bay Lakers at 7 p.m. Watch Hustle favorites like Yumi Kawamura as the Hustle fight for a spot in the G League playoffs. Tickets are available now at memphisHustle.com.
I love my wife, but like most couples, we have different sleeping needs. One of us likes it warm, and the other prefers to stay cool. You can probably guess who's who. About 15 years ago, I set out on a mission to find the perfect fabric to keep us both comfortable. I found it in Viscose from Bamboo. I'm Tyler, founder of Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth offers the softest, most comfortable sheets, towels, PJs, joggers, and more. Our premium bamboo viscose fabric is incredibly soft, breathable, and moisture-wicking, helping regulate body temperature so you stay comfortable all day and night. Unbelievably cozy, ethically sourced and designed to add a touch of luxury to your home. I believe so strongly that our sheets will turn your bed into a sanctuary that if you sleep in our sheets for 100 nights and don't absolutely love your experience, we'll refund your money, no questions asked. I'm so confident that you'll love Cozy Earth that I guarantee it. It truly is the gift that keeps on giving.
Go to CozyEarth.com and use code CozyComfort to save up to 40%. That's CozyEarth.com. Code CozyComfort. Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery instead of dependable service and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Menas today at 01382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brown. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
My big number today is the number 11. I can't promise anything, so I don't even know why I'm going to say this, but you always you do your themes around different events. I'm going to set a theme today from now until Selection Sunday every day. College basketball big numbers. So
I'll match it.
I can.
I love it.
I think I can do that.
Time of year.
Shall see. I'm sure this will be broken by, what do you say, Landon? Wednesday? I don't know. I think I can do it.
I'm confident in y'all. I'm not confident in me.
Well.
I'll sign up and take it through the Tuesday after the finals.
Okay, all right. I don't know if I can go that far. I'm sure I can. We'll see how far we go. But my big number today is the number 11. Michigan has won 11 games by 4 or fewer points in Big Ten play this year. No other Division I men's or women's team has had double-digit such wins against conference opponents in a single season this century. And it's a big question a lot of people have for this Michigan team is when you look at them, and right now we just talked to Shelby Mast over at bracketwag.com. He has Michigan as a 4 seed, but you look at a lot of these results, it's coming down to the end of the game. It's when you need someone to make a shot, have a prayer, and you end up winning. Is that sustainable throughout Big Ten?
It's onions time.
I mean, that's what you need. I mean, that you need the guys that can make the big shots. They certainly have the experience, but will they be able to get into tourney time and be able to win these games with how close a lot of these have been? But they've gotten it when they need it, and we'll see if it continues into the conference tournament and the NCAA.
Kind of my theme for the day today has been about Bruce Pearl.
Yeah.
Let me be candid. When he was hired at Auburn, I didn't think he would be there very long, and I even joked, it was joking, there was a picture that ran in every newspaper in the country from the AP of Bruce Pearl and Gus Malzahn visiting that day at Pearl's announcement. And I said the air bubble over it was Malzahn telling him, you better not do anything and get the NCAA into town.
Well,
he hadn't come close to that.
Hasn't, no.
He hadn't come close.
No.
He's just an incredible job. So with my theme of Bruce Pearl, my big number is 3. He's now won 3 SEC regular season championships at Auburn. Before that at Auburn in their basketball history, they had won exactly 3.
Wow.
He's matched the whole total.
Holy cow. I mean, that goes back to what you were talking about earlier.
To the beach basket.
Yeah. I mean, that's
goes back
incredible.
To at one time when Coach Shug Jordan was the basketball coach.
Well, yes. And, more to your point about put it up against anybody in the SEC.
Anybody.
In what they're doing. That's
all
remarkable.
takers. Don't give me any Kentucky basketball.
Sure.
Everybody at Kentucky was doing what was expected.
Yeah, that's right. They expect championships up there. And speaking of Kentucky, ooh.
About the only thing that I would seriously discuss is the job Spurrier did in football at South Carolina, but it wasn't for a long time.
Sure.
This is a long stretch.
It is.
The one Final Four was 6 Final Fours ago.
Yeah, that's right.
2019.
That's right. I mean, it's impressive what he's doing. And
also doing it at a time that 150 miles away, they've got it at peak level.
Yeah, I mean that's been the fun story is what those two programs are doing right now, going back and forth. And yeah, I mean I go back to what I said earlier. I mean this isn't just a guy that can go in and recruit his butt off and get 6 5-stars every year. I mean this is a guy that's going out and finding guys, finding talent, developing talent, and
it's not Kirby at Georgia.
No,
they hired him to do exactly this.
Exactly.
I mean, they were that close with Rick.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been impressive. And, I don't think there'll be many people in the country that would argue.
Nolan won at Southwest Conference. He won in the SEC.
Exactly.
That it was a good job, but it wasn't more distinguished than what Pearl's done at Auburn.
No.
And this is just right now. Let him win it all.
Whew.
I won't entertain anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, then you have a way better argument. I think it's a good argument right now. It's way better if they win the national championship.
Maybe just another 4.
Yeah, honestly, I think you're right. But no, they're gonna be fun to watch. I know the lady that cuts my hair. She said she had another client that they made a bet with each other that Auburn versus the field. She has the field. He took Auburn. And I go, I think any team against the field in the NCAA tournament, I'd take that bet. But
I just think there's about 5 teams that can win it.
Oh, yeah.
So you're not getting really a big field. You're only getting about 4 more teams.
I still would take any year. I would take the field over one team just because of how volatile the NCAA tournament can be.
I'll go lunch at Jason's Deli. I'll take Auburn. You want the field?
Sure,
book
why
it.
not? Let's book it. So flag that tape, Landon, and we'll
Beagle, War Damn Eagle.
That's right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think
I don't think I got the words right, but I got War Damn Eagle right.
You did. War Damn Eagle is exactly right. But man, it's gonna be fun to see what they can do. I think we could be talking about a UConn-like run that we saw where it's just get out of the way. I mean, once the tournament starts. I don't care who is playing them.
He's going to have on that bulletin board, remember Yale.
Yeah.
That's going to help them.
And the great thing for it is in the day and age of transfer portal and new guys, a lot of these guys were there last year. It's not walking in and tapping that board with guys that have no idea. I mean, we talked about it with Memphis and Wichita State. You go in there and you say, remember what Wichita State did last year? Well, heck, one of the guys was on the other team. Only one of the guys was in that locker room last year for Memphis. For Auburn, it's a lot different because a lot of these guys were playing against Yale last year. So I think, I think they showed pregame or during the game, his pregame speech for that game over the weekend. I mean, it was electric. And he has that. He can do that. So Auburn, they're going to be the team to watch as we start March. But let's go ahead and wrap up this hour and get to another break. And when we return, we're switching gears. We got to talk Grizzlies, and joining us to do so, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, DeMichael Cole. He joins us next.
sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Witten Road.
Wally Hatchet serves breakfast all day and Southern comfort food for lunch. Hatchet fans love our huge omelets, breakfast Sammys, scrambles, and chicken and waffles. For lunch, check out the Mississippi pot roast, chicken fried steak, grilled meatloaf are one of our best-selling burgers, lipstick on a cow. Pickup, delivery, and catering are also available. Visit WallyHatchets.com to order online. Wally Hatchets is located at 6439 Summer Avenue and open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesday through Sunday. Wally Hatchets. Count your blessings, not your calories.
Hi, this is Troy Five-Ash, owner of Five-Ash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course, for President, I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I pluck mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Five-Ash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Five-Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five-Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Brought to you by Triangle Meat Company, feeding Memphis since 1967. Open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, 4790 Summer Avenue. Trust Triangle Meat Company. This traffic brought to you by Brinson Tax Service. They protect you like family.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A couple of EMS calls in the last few minutes. It's trying to build through Midtown on 240 South at South Parkway. Watching it pick up a little bit more volume just in the last few minutes on 240 East from Mill Branch all the way out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is, you'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Club. Once again,
Say you stand by your man. Tell me something I don't understand.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we sit in our family leisure studios. And joining us now to talk the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal, DeMichael Cole, joins us now. DeMichael, thanks so much for joining us. An 0-2 weekend for the Grizzlies and two losses where they could have been on the other side. Both could have been wins, certainly probably more the one Friday night rather than the game on Saturday where they had to come from behind against the Spurs. But what stood out to you about those two losses over the weekend for the Grizzlies?
They both were games they should have won. That start there. I felt that this 5-game homestand came at a good time for them, right? You know, there were some things that needed to come together, but players were healthy. You got the All-Star break in there, and you got some time to practice. I was like, okay, this is the chance where they can get a nice 5-game homestand. And I looked at this homestand, you know, with the big picture point of view, and I said, they should be 4-0 going into that game against OKC. And now they're fighting to be 2-2 over this homestand. So it's a stretch where there was some missed opportunities, and both games showcased that. You know, of course, the Knicks game, that was the tougher opponent. You know, that was a game where, you know, the Grizzlies controlled it for most of the game, and you let it get away. Just, you know, a couple mistakes. down the stretch of that game. And then, of course, the game against the Spurs, you were down a lot of guys. But when you look back at it, because before the game, I'm saying, oh, they're down all these guys, so if they lose, that's going to be something that we're talking about. But then when you watch the game against the Spurs, they didn't lose because they were missing John Morant, Desmond Bain, Brandon Clark, and those guys, because they lost from an effort standpoint. They lost because of that. As Taylor Jenkins, Santi Aldama, and others pointed out, they gave up 42 points in the second quarter. And, that's what the game boiled down to, is pretty much energy, intensity, and effort. If you're playing with effort in that second quarter, the offense played well enough to win you that game. It just was an effort thing on the defensive end. But overall, a disappointing weekend for a team that has the hopes that this one does.
Absolutely. You mentioned Santi Aldama. What did you make of what he had to say afterwards, kind of talking about how they're letting teams punk them? And this has been a guy, Santi Aldama has talked in the past about
his words, not ours.
Yeah, exactly. And, in other games has come out and said, teams that are physical give us a tough time and are usually beat us. What did you make of Santi Aldama and what he had to say Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, people it gets lost in the shuffle, but Santi is one of the older guys from experience, and years, on his team now. He's been around a little bit, and his voice is getting bigger. You can see the confidence when he's playing on the floor, and it's one of those things where, if you say something like that, you better be able to walk the walk. And for the most part this season, he's one of those guys who's walked the walk. I mean, I think in that game, where he said that against the Spurs, he had a double-double and was flirting with a triple-double, but with all that being said, I mean, I don't think he was far off, because what I got out of it was he basically said that we're allowing teams to punch us first. And then when they punch us first, we try to say, all right, okay, this is going to be a fight, so let's get serious now. But you can't do that in the NBA. And, he pointed out that Pacers game. Taylor Jenkins pointed out that Pacers game. They both pointed out in that game in the second quarter, they gave up 50 points. And then all of a sudden you want to try to turn it on, and it's like, it doesn't really work that way. Against the Spurs, it's the same way. You give up 46 points, in the second quarter, and you're down 19, and then in the third, you're like, all right, let's ramp up the intensity here, and you hold them to 22 points in the third quarter. But at that point, I mean, it's now when the Spurs make a couple shots that are uncharacteristic, you put yourself in this tough spot, whereas if they were making those shots early in the game, you would have kind of relied on things would eventually go back to the mean. So I thought it was fair, his assessment, and quite frankly, he wasn't, he was more blunt with his words, but a lot of guys kind of had that feeling that we need to play better. We got to be better.
DeMichael, to play the Jaren Jackson with the B team on Saturday night, that's an organizational call. Taylor Jenkins, he can't refuse it, can he? I wouldn't imagine. But I don't understand why the organization would do that when every potential game, especially playing San Antonio without Wembanyama, why in the world would you just kind of concede either that game or it's going to be a fourth quarter game? Why would you play with fire like that? And it flew all over me Saturday night, and then to see that effort,
I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. It's not just you, Stats. I mean, I look back at the game, and before it started, I'm like, okay, all these guys on the injury reports, I was sure some of them are going to be able to play some way, shape, or form. And then those guys were out, and they lose, and boom, in 2 days, you go from the number 2 seed to the number 4 seed. And if the Rockets would have won, the Rockets lost against the Kings that day, and for a second, it looked like they were going to win. And if the Rockets would have won, you would have fell to 5th. Like, that's how close it is. And the point is, from 2 to 5, it is so tight right now. You don't have the ability to say, we'll worry about this later. We'll worry about that game later. It's go time. And here's my thing, because this is part of the year you hear, players, and none of the Grizzlies players I've talked to have said this. This is just a part of the year where it's more like, if this is a playoff game, maybe I play, things like that. And when guys are dealing with soreness, and we've seen in the case of, I don't know how serious the injuries were, so I don't want to really project. But if you look at guys going from being questionable, then they're out, and then the next game, Dez, Brandon, and Vince Williams are not on the injury report. In the case of Vince Williams, it's a wrap-up, right? That's a little bit understandable. Same thing, Brandon Clark kind of needing stitches. That situation understandable. But then you like John Dez, those are two of your three horses.
Yeah.
And you at least want to try to get two on the floor. It's puzzling to me a little bit because Taylor Jenkins said after the game, which it just struck me as a little bit cringe. Not cringing that it was a weird thing for him to say, but cringe as into why. Why would he say that? Because he said that we're playing the long game in terms of the injuries with the guys. And I'm thinking to myself, what's the long game if you are 60 games into the season? Like, this is the sprint here. The long game was December, January, right? And now you're in the sprint. Now when you lose to the San Antonio Spurs, it matters a lot more. It just feels like it matters a little bit more because you got the Lakers starting to hit their stride, 8-2 in the last 10. Luka playing with LeBron. They're only going to get better as they figure that thing out. Houston had its tough stretch already. Houston's going to respond. Houston's going to be better, as the rest of this season goes on. And then, of course, Denver, they're not going to go too far off. I mean, they have the best player in the world, so they're just not going to slump too much as long as he's playing. So if your guys are able to play, like it's go time. Yeah.
Yeah. Long game to me, DeMichael, is when you've wrapped up the 2 or the 3 or the 4, and you have 4 or 5 games left, and you give everybody off until the playoffs. That's the long game to me. And for the long time season ticket holders that had to go out there last year and see 33, 34 different players, and 2 years ago at this time, the tidal wave of controversy, a little bit after this, more later in the month of March than actually right now, but the tidal wave of controversy around the face of your franchise, and on a Saturday night in March, you don't have the 2 pillars of the franchise, 2 of the 3, along with Jaren Jackson, had him, and he was sensational. But you don't have Bane, you don't have Morant. An out-of-town fan, let's say that family of 4 that's going to drive in from Cape Girardeau, and they buy their tickets, they make their plans, and they think they're going to see Wemby and Ja. Okay, the Spurs do that with Wemby for his medical issue, and then the Grizzlies do that. Frankly, my word, Michael, I don't want to drag you into it. My word, insulting.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I really do. I just think back to a lot of Grizzlies fans. They're coming to these games, and who they want to see play. They want to see Ja Morant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's your star figure, to bring in. And like I said, you don't want to project in these situations, right? Because Ja, it's right shoulder soreness, and we've known that over the last year, the right shoulder has been problematic in ways for him. He had the surgery, he had the AC joint sprain, etc. But when this season wraps up, not even just with the Grizzlies, with other teams, you're going to say, oh, this guy has this procedure done after the season. He played the last 2 months, the last 3 months, the last, and especially in your days, Brett, I'm sure you remember a lot of guys playing through a lot more, than guys.
Go look at those games played odometer for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep.
It's 78 and 79 and 77 and 80 every year.
Yeah. It's a completely and now guys are struggling to meet the 65-game threshold. So, but with all that being said, I really want to see how they respond from here because now you've really been hit, and when I say that, I mean that the threat has been there over the last month, 2 months, 3 months. And credit to all the people who saw it coming, right? When the Grizzlies would slip a game here and, Ja Morant wasn't playing and you felt like, oh, maybe he could have played and, they just let this game slip by. Because now those games are starting to catch up to you a little bit. It's like, if we would have just, we could have won that game. We could have won that game. We could have won that game. Now you need these wins because, as we said, LA's playing better, Denver's playing better. and then you got that whole pack of teams below the Grizzlies there that are playing better as well. And look, teams are hungry. At this point in the season, everyone's trying to find that they're trying to play their best, right? They're trying to play their best basketball here in March. Rotations are going to get shorter around the league, and it's go time. I mean, the Grizzlies have, I think, the toughest remaining schedule left. Still got 2 games against OKC. You got the Cavs. You got Boston, both at home, but you got Denver, LA again as well. So it's going to be a fun stretch. But you need your guys out there.
You say hungry to Michael, and stuff like Saturday night makes it appear to a lot of people like some other front offices and other teams are hungrier.
Yeah, that's the way it looks, and it's. I mean, I don't get it because, you have these championship goals, right? Before the season, I always go back to listen to how guys sounded before the season, and I'm listening to, all the Grizzlies players and Josh saying, I want to win a championship. Availability is the most important thing to me, and I believe some of those things are definitely true. Desmond Bain talked about the championship goals, Jaren Jackson Jr., etc., Taylor Jenkins, Zach Kleiman. I think they all have that goal, but maybe is that where that veteran presence comes in to help you understand the sacrifice that has to go into those goals? Because the difference between the 2 seed and the 4 seed and even the 3 seed for a team like the Grizzlies, if you ask me, it's substantial. Like, I think if the Lakers drop from 2 to 4, they're probably not talking about it as much. It's like, we got Luka and LeBron, we got a chance in any series. When you're a team that has won 1 playoff series over the last, in this Taylor Jenkins, John Morant, this era of this team over the last 5 seasons, you won 1 playoff series, you want to put yourself in the best position. You want to get that 2 seed so you can go into a second-round series and say, we got home court. As long as we protect home court, we can get to the Western Conference Finals.
That would back off everybody.
Yep, exactly. And that's how you calm the crowd down.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about Ja Morant. I mean, you look in these last 4 games, 21 or more points in all 4 of them. But the biggest thing that jumps out is the 3-point shooting. 1 for 18 in his last 2 games, 0 for 6 last game out against New York, 1 for 12 against Phoenix. Now, the one he made against Phoenix was the big one. I mean, they knew that one. It was huge. But what do you make of the 3-point shooting for Ja Morant, just the amount that he's taking and the struggles he's having from deep?
Yeah, it's something that's going to have to be better if this team wants to reach its goal. We know the threat Ja Morant is when he gets to the basket. I mean, he led the league. I mean, that's still, wild to think back on that he led the league in that 2021-2022 season in paint scoring as a 6'2", 6'3" point guard. So he can do what he wants when he gets to the rim, but the problem is certain teams aren't going to let you, and he's going to have to shoot. He's going to have to.
They're going to make you.
Mm-hmm. They're going to make you. When you play the Oklahoma City Thunder, you're not getting 30 points in the paint. Not happening.
No, they're building a wall.
They're building a wall. And even when those big guys, you saw it the last 2 times the Grizzlies played them, and the last time Ja played in that game. Like, it's so hard. They're the number 1 paint prevention team in the league. It's so hard to get anything clean around the rim. But and it's similar with all of the great teams, right? If you look at the Cavs, they got Evan Mobley. They got Jared Allen. They stagger those 2. One is always on the floor, if not both. When Jared Allen goes out of the game, Evan Mobley moves to center. Evan Mobley comes out of the game, Jared Allen's back in. They're keeping that paint protection at all times on the floor. So paint prevention, preventing paint points is one of the biggest emphasis league-wide right now. And Ja has the ability to, make some of those acrobatic finishes, but it's not something you can rely on against the best of the best defenses. So how do you, kind of overcome that? You got to knock down that mid-range jumper. You got to knock down that 3-point shot at least semi-consistently. And in that game against the Suns that you mentioned, it got to a point he was just putting his head down, getting to the basket, and they were fouling him, and he was converting around the rim. He was able to do that. But if they were playing OKC that night, I don't know if he would have been able to do that to that level. So the point is, yeah, you can get away with it against some teams, but if you want to beat the elite, he's going to have to knock down some of those jumpers. I think that's a fair assessment. I think Ja knows that as well.
DeMichael, in your time covering the team and following the team in your upbringing and love of basketball, last Tuesday night, 151, 148 in overtime, I said it was the best regular season Grizzlies win ever. What do you think?
Wow. Woo. You got me thinking. I mean, the way it happened, you're down for 17 seconds left. I mean, Grayson Allen missing the free throw, John Morant getting you to overtime, Jaren Jackson Jr. having the best game in regulation, then fouling out Devin Booker. I mean, the drama was peak. Even down to the rookie, Jalen Wells, kind of being a key in overtime. And I think the Grizzlies were down 4 in overtime, like a minute and a half, 2 minutes left, and went on a run in overtime. I mean, you might be onto something. It was definitely one of the best ones, especially from a, up and down, back and forth standpoint. I mean, neither team really had too big of a lead. If you like offense, I think the Grizzlies shot over 40% from three-point range, and that was made over 23-pointers. The Suns made over 23-pointers. That was high-level basketball.
Big-time stuff. If it wasn't my favorites, Zebo had 36 one night in a regular season game that was the equivalent of watching that crafty left-handed pitcher scatter 4 hits in a 6-0 shutout. It was just beautiful to watch him bobbing and weaving and getting Z-bounds and doing it the way he wanted. Jaws 52 was really something to watch. But that last Tuesday night, and I was not in the building. I was watching it on TV, and it felt like the building was as alive as I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I mean, people were standing. They were standing like with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It was loud. I mean, it was playoff-like. I mean, that's kind of what you're waiting on, right? That's why we look forward to April and whatnot. Yeah, that intensity. That was definitely probably the best intensity in a game this season.
DeMichael, we learned last week that 5 games the remainder of the season will be available statewide because of Gray Media, a partnership there in Nashville, in Knoxville, obviously here in Memphis. What does that mean? How big is that for not only, people in Nashville? I know there's a lot of Grizzlies fans in Nashville. You spend a lot of time in Knoxville. For those people to be able to see Grizzlies games, but then also here to have that option to watch these games free.
Right there on Channel 5.
That's right.
Right there on Channel 5, man. Brett, you were just talking about my childhood, and I'm thinking back to when I was in college. We had to watch the Atlanta Hawks, man. I couldn't, I couldn't really watch the Grizzlies, and that wasn't.
It was your only choice.
Yeah, that wasn't really the glory days of the Grizzlies, so to speak. That was the last, like you're talking 2015, 2016, up through 2019. So wasn't really the glory days, but at the same time, you didn't have that option, even though you were in the state of Tennessee. You were pretty much, we got, in Knoxville, we got Hawks games on what is now FanDuel Sports Network. So, it's I think it's a big deal for a bunch of different reasons. I think because of the accessibility to those games, to Grizzlies games, there's always been let's see. I don't know if disconnect is the right word, but that's the word that's coming to mind, so I'm going to say it. There's always been a disconnect between West Tennessee and semi-middle Tennessee and then East Tennessee in terms of the support for the Grizzlies, in that way.
You're much kinder than I am. I say that first Jackson exit.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, look, I had never heard the words West Tennessee until I left Memphis and went to Knoxville, and they said, "Oh, you're from West Tennessee?" I'm from Memphis.
And say it almost like we're a pariah.
Yeah. So I think that you talk about kind of that connection and bringing it's the Memphis Grizzlies, but they're in the state of Tennessee. And, I know a lot of people in Knoxville, it's a couple hours, to Atlanta or whatever. So you get more access to Hawks games and whatnot. But this is a way, the Grizzlies have a star player, John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr. They have a team that's fun to watch. I think this, you do this now and potentially even more in the future could really do some things with kind of expanding the fan base. To even I think it could be a really big deal.
And how Channel 5 will treat it in their promotion, doing it in their heavily viewed news segments. Tonight we have the Memphis Grizzlies right here.
Yep, exactly. And they're going to do the pregame. They're going to do the postgame. So you're going to get the full. Scope of Grizzlies coverage.
We call it the full Rob Fisher experience, DeMichael.
There it is, the full Rob. Exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to reach out to a couple of people in Knoxville, see what they think about the experience.
DeMichael, real quickly, you mentioned you kind of force fed the Hawks.
Yep.
I'm surprised they didn't try to maybe give you a little Charlotte, even. And in NFL, what do they call the Knoxville NFL market?
It was mostly the Falcons. You got the Falcons games more than any other games, but you got the Titans a lot. You get the Titans,
of course. Okay,
you get the Titans too. So Titans, Falcons, kind of both, but they play on different channels usually. So you got the Falcons are usually a Fox team, and then the Titans are usually on CBS. So that kind of worked out that way, but you get a lot of those two teams there. But again, you get the Titans a lot across the whole state of Tennessee, right? The Titans, of course, in Nashville, and maybe it's because they're in the middle point. I don't know, but at the end of the day, the Titans are in Tennessee, and you get a lot of access to them over in East Tennessee, and you get a lot of access to them over in Memphis. Whereas with the Grizzlies, the further east you go, it seems harder to access what's going on here.
Yeah.
DeMichael, last thing for you. What do you expect to see in tonight's game against the Hawks and then Wednesday night, the rematch against the Thunder?
I expect them to come out with their heads on fire on the defensive end. What Santi's saying, we've been getting punked and everybody's talking about the defense, and Taylor Jenkins is saying we can't let that happen. So there's no way they could let it happen again, right? Like you got to come out in first quarter. This is a talented Hawks team on the offensive end with Trae Young leading the show, but at the same time, I expect them to really try to set a tone defensively. And then as we get into Wednesday, you got to carry that energy over. It's going to be tough. It's always tough to beat Oklahoma City, but you want to kind of you got to match their toughness. You got to bring it on the defensive end to give yourself a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's going to be fun to watch tonight and Wednesday. DeMichael, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, take care, guys.
Thanks, Michael. DeMichael Cole joining us every single week from the Commercial Appeal to talk the Grizzlies, and it feels like, these two games feel like they're big games. When you look up and you see Denver already in front of you, about a half game ahead of you. They don't play again until Wednesday night, but then the Rockets only a game back from you right now.
It's a lot of cars.
It's a lot of cars. DeMichael said it really from two.
You ain't rubbing, you ain't racing.
That's exactly right. But it feels like from 2 to 5.
Maybe the NASCAR.
I love it. Getting you in there.
Stop.
Prime time. It's mid-season, I guess, for the
I said
for the
it
NASCAR.
earlier. Let's just be candid. Since the break, it hadn't felt right.
No.
And Friday night, crusher.
Sure.
Saturday night, just mysterious.
Yeah. No, it was.
I used a heavy word. I thought it was insulting, and this fan base has been through enough. It's time to play the regulars often.
Yeah.
It's too much coddling.
Well, it was weird. I know we talked about it on Saturday. I know I talked about it with a lot of my other friends that I was texting back and forth on Saturday of, after what happened Friday night, I felt like Saturday, all right, this is the game you win over the Spurs, and then it felt like just a flood of, hey, everyone is questionable for tonight's game. And so, you
that was get right night.
It was supposed to be. After the heartbreaking loss the night before. It was not fun. But
and the tough realization, we love. I love to carry the NBA Western Conference banner. Well, I look at the standings, I see in the East 3 New York, and in the West 4 Memphis.
Yeah.
Even if Memphis got to 3, East 3's better.
They've shown it. The 2 times you played them, they've shown they're better than you. So
they have.
Yeah, and that is especially the way a lot of people talk about this Knicks team. We were talking last week with Keith Smith, and he said, I think it's 1 and 2 in the East. I think they're in a tier. And then I think there's a big gap, and then it's the Knicks, and said that he thinks they're far away from what both those teams have shown in the Eastern Conference. So it is a little sobering when you hear that and when you see them play the Knicks like they did. But before we get to a break, let me remind you about Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984, and their talented team is ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport, where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility, with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender, available in multiple models to fit your needs. The Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169. Go online to jaguarbluffcity.com, but head out there, test drive these models. 6335 Wheel Cove, just off of Quince for Bluff City Jaguar. Well, let's get to another break, and when we return, we'll talk about what's trending.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Benswinger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Benswinger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Benswinger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BenswingerGlass.com. Benswinger Glass.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-822-1598. 800-822-1598. 800-822-1598.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Still filling out paperwork on the wreck that's been over here for at least an hour and a half now on 240 westbound, just past Poplar. Again, it's in its cleanup stages, but it was over here long enough during rush hour traffic to slow it down pretty good. On 240 west, let's say from Walnut Grove, passing Poplar all the way down to Bill Morris Parkway. On 240 going westbound, it's heavy now on 40 east from Sycamore View Road all the way out to Germantown Parkway. If your lawn needs some help, don't worry. Lawn Solutions is here. Call Lawn Solutions right now at 867-5626. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We're back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got about 30 minutes left in today's show. We got to talk about what's trending. Couple things to get to. We've got a lot of Tiger football news that I want to get to. But before we get to that, we were just talking Grizzlies with DeMichael Cole, and just now coming out, both Ja Morant and Santi Aldama are both trending towards being out for tonight's game against the Atlanta Hawks. That comes from DeMichael Cole. He also put this out following that tweet. Taylor Jenkins said the Ja Morant injury is short-term, lingering soreness. Quote, as the season gets deeper, I have faith that Ja is going to be ready to play whatever he needs minutes-wise, duration of games, all of that. So looking like Ja going to be out again tonight.
As the season gets deeper,
well,
it's 82-game schedule.
20-something games left.
And played 60. Mm-hmm. This is as deep as you get.
Yeah.
It's time for these guys to play.
I'm with you.
There's nothing new about an 82-game NBA schedule.
Mm-mm.
In fact, the limited number of back-to-backs, they do it as infrequently now as ever in the recorded history of the league.
Yep.
How they travel, how they eat, how they are taken care of, and they all should be, because they are very valuable commodities.
Oh, yeah.
Paid very well. You got to get in there and play.
Got to. And, I mean, like you just said, later in the season, I mean, we are later in the season, and don't look up at the standings, Coach. There's... You know,
I mean, is Ja hurt or his feelings hurt because he's throwing up Hoyt Wilhelm knuckleballs for three-pointers?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's time to play.
It is. And I think that's the worry you have with Ja Morant, because there have been times this season that Ja has been, it's just a day-to-day, he'll be back a couple days, and it turns into a couple weeks with Ja Morant. So if he is really hurt, then that terrifies
if
you.
If it's another one of those rope-a-dope deals by the front office, people are fed up with it. Saturday night, there were people outraged by that.
As they should be. I mean, it should.
As they should be.
And I think, I certainly thought Saturday night when, he missed that game, okay, cool. But, now missing back-to-back games.
Every game, they do it so well. And the ticket office, marketing and sales, have done a phenomenal job marketing and selling this team to build the season ticket base up, to build you almost can count on a icy Tuesday night against Charlotte, you're going to have 15-2, 15-3 in the building.
Yep.
They've done a great job with that, and they do it at every home game. They always properly honor these longtime season ticket holders.
Yeah.
Day one, year 20, year whatever. Those people have paid a lot of money for this go time of year again.
Yeah.
That we just talked about with DeMichael.
Yeah. And now, I mean, you've got your...
What in the heck are we waiting on?
I mean, your star player, the guy that's supposed to be your face of the franchise, and missing...
And you know what
games.
usually goes with face of the franchise, Bryant?
What's
the
that?
number of zeros on that check.
Oh, yeah, that's a big part of it, and he's getting paid.
You got to get in
well.
there.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry in a shooting schneid, and the one for 18. I think if you go back.
Oh yeah, it's
like 4 for 29.
Yeah, I mean it's not great. I just pulled 1 for 18 out because it's very easy to do the math when you've only made 1 3-pointer in your last 2 games and you're 0 for 12 in one of them and 0 for 6 in one of them and 1 for 12 in the other one. Math's real easy. That's the only reason I stopped at 2 games.
My preseason kind of expectation for the Grizzlies, I think I said 48 wins. I can look it up. I know I have it. 48 wins. And win a playoff series. Not go to the Western Conference Finals with what the previous management team did do in their 6th year. This is the 6th year for the Wonderkins.
Yeah.
A first-round exit will not go over with people and shouldn't.
No.
It should be blistering criticism.
Yeah. And I mean, it's only going to get harder. If you keep losing some of these games,
and you just watch that steady erosion of that seed.
I mean, it's going to be hard for the Rockets. Rockets have the Thunder, I think, tonight. But, I mean, Rockets do something. If you're the Grizzlies, if you drop another one, you look up tomorrow morning, you're tied, and Houston has that advantage, and so you would be the fifth seed tomorrow morning.
And quite one thing for the Grizzlies to regularly do player maintenance. It's another if Oklahoma City wants to take tonight off.
Yeah.
They got room to.
Yeah. Okay, so you can do whatever they want. You know, I mean, they have locked things up, and so
everybody was patient with that garbage last year. They couldn't help that.
No, certainly not. But this year, you absolutely can. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Ja's been really good when he's played late, and you look at some of those games where he's come up big, and had been clutch in the fourth quarter when you needed him, but you got to have him out there.
He has, but last week, and I say it about baseball, and it's nothing original that I came up with. A million people have. Mm-hmm. The sport that it works itself out the most in is baseball.
Sure.
Because of the number of games.
Absolutely.
162. Well, the next sport that it more times than not works out is NBA.
Yeah.
Because of 82. Still won Tuesday, on the wrong end of it Friday.
That's right.
Could have easily been wrong end Tuesday, win it Friday.
Yeah, it could have been. But, well, it's played out, and now back-to-back losses for them. But you talk about that availability. You just keep going back for Ja Morant. Rookie season, the most amount of games
for those
played
that didn't get the Hoyt Wilhelm reference, think of a knuckleball. I'll try to go more recent, Tom Candiotti.
There you go. There you go. But 67 games in the 2019-2020 season, his rookie year. Then since then, 63, 59, 61. Last year, only 9. And now this season, 37. Not going to get anywhere near that career high for games played. So, you want to see it from Ja Morant. You want to see him out there. And it's looking like nothing super official yet, but according to Taylor Jenkins in the pregame media, both him and Santi Aldama trending to being out tonight. So,
and all those years you just described, give me those numbers again, please.
67 games his rookie year. That is his career high for games played.
That rookie year completed spring of 20.
That's correct. Yeah, the 2019
the bubble,
season.
August 20.
Yep. Then the next year, 63 games. The 2021-22 season, 57 games. The year after that, 61 games, 9 games last year, and then 37 this year.
And that entire time, he's been 6'1" at about 170.
That's right, yeah. And his size ain't going to change.
It's not going to change. And now the odometer's rolling. Mm-hmm. A first-round exit, it will be an off-season of open should you go forward with this. Have we hit peak?
Yeah. No, the questions are, it's going to be a long list of questions and tough questions, but I think questions that need to be there.
Does one series insulate them from that? One series win?
Not completely. What does that second
win a
series
3 versus 6, 4 versus 5.
Sure.
Competitive in the next one, fun. We wave the towels, we have fun. Hoop and holler, but go nowhere.
I think it helps them a lot more than a first round exit would.
Sure does.
But I do think there is a percentage of this fan base that would like to see some change and are ready to see that
and waited very patiently through an horrendous round of luck last year.
You're right. So now this is
2 years ago with horrendous judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we will, we'll see. But
it's either injured or poor judgment.
Exactly. And, you feel a lot better when Ja Morant's on the court. And 37 games. I don't know exactly how many we have left, but it's 20-something. You're not getting anywhere near that 67 games.
Scratch one off tonight.
Exactly. So, it's the availability is important. And, he just has not been available.
And league-wide, I know the NBA getting ready to start. Not even in the next year will be the first year of an unprecedented, great TV deal.
Yeah,
I'll say it was earned. You know why it was earned? Somebody paid it.
That's right. Yeah.
Just like what we do with ad rates. They'd go up. Somebody'd pay them.
You're right about that.
That's just the way it is. But for all of them around the league, the day-to-day interest, will it be able to be sustained? That if you never know when the stars are going to play.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, I know what they want. They want about a 60-game sprint, maybe even less, at the same price tag they get now.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. Nowhere in the country do you get to work less and make more.
No, not at all. Not at all. NBA's going to try to do it, I guess.
I mean, not even dopey Pat McAfee gets that.
No. It's, I mean, it's kind of messy right now for the Grizzlies, but again, tonight looking very unlikely.
And Ben, let's be candid, Brian. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Let's be candid. It's been messy since the All-Star break.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a while now.
Nah, I mean,
it's time to come out of the All-Star break doldrums.
They've not played well, even before the All-Star break, Brad. I mean, you go back to that.
That's true.
That Oklahoma City game was right there before. That Clippers game was going into All-Star break. And
Well, I'm a good example of it. At one point, I was 7-0.
Yeah.
I went to the Oklahoma City game Friday night against the Knicks and Saturday against the Spurs. I'm now 7-3. I'm not going tonight.
Well,
wasn't planning on it anyway.
They might need you tonight. I don't know, but recently you haven't been so hot. So.
And meanwhile, let's bash the ever living you know what out of the Tigers, but don't touch Ja.
No, but I think if this continues, you're going to see it more and more. People questioning this Grizzlies group. But again, we'll see tonight what happens against the Hawks. I wanted to get this in before we get to a break. Some Tiger football news coming out today. It was announced earlier this afternoon. Memphis football will play its spring game on April 26th, 3 p.m. at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. It will be the first time.
Late spring game.
It's a late spring game.
Well, you really start the countdown to opening day coming out of that.
Sure do. Feel good about where the team is if they look good.
But after the showboats get through, it'll be time to play.
Well, I was about to say, I guess you got to figure out when you can play because of the showboats, but it'll be the first opportunity we'll get to see A.J. Hill in action for the Tigers. Then the other news that came out, we talked about earlier this week when the AAC schedules came out that the Memphis Navy game was either going to be a Thanksgiving Day or a Black Friday game. Today officially became a Thanksgiving Day game. This comes from Jonah Dillon. Memphis will play Navy on Thanksgiving Day. The AAC just announced the game had been listed for either Thanksgiving or Black Friday in last week's schedule release. Second straight year Memphis will play on Thanksgiving. The Tigers beat Tulane in New Orleans last season. And then final thing, odds coming out for national championship odds. We'll get more odds later for teams to make the playoffs. Right now, Memphis fourth in terms of group of 5 teams for best odds. So that would mean, in theory, best odds.
Football national championship.
Football national championship.
Do we know who the starting quarterback is?
And that's a good question, and that's why I bring this up, because a lot can change. But in theory, nobody thinks any of these teams are going to win a national championship. But in theory, you can take these odds and say these are the best odds to make the playoffs based on Group 5. Tulane leads the way, UNLV, Boise State, and then Memphis.
And that's why it'd be so much fun if it was an annual Thanksgiving night thing with Tulane. And I don't know that anybody ever sold it as that. I wanted that, though.
No.
I don't know that was ever sold as that.
I don't think so, but I think I brought this up last week when we got the schedule. There were a couple of years in there where it was Black Friday game, and it was Memphis versus Houston. And then it became Memphis versus Cincinnati, and those were great games, and it felt like, especially last year, getting that Thanksgiving game.
Kicking Tom Herman good a couple times.
Sure did. And those were great games. I mean, it felt like every year it was the other side would win, but you felt like last year getting that Thanksgiving Day, that even if it wasn't going to be a Thanksgiving Day, either that or a Black Friday game, it would be Memphis Tulane.
I think sent Major Applewhite too one day, didn't we?
Sure did. Yeah, it was a couple different coaches in there throughout the time. But some Tiger news coming out, and we had both Seth Hennigan and Rock Taylor over the weekend at the Combine. Seth Hennigan looked really good. Rock Taylor had a really good day as well. So some good news coming from Tiger football. But let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. And when we return, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Vision Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous? Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good to base or marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from a Mediterranean diet or steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available in Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it. A beloved family affair is still going strong since 1948. Rendezvous.
Hi, this is Troy Five Ash, owner of Five Ash Roofing. Did you know there are so many roofing companies in Memphis that I don't even know them all? So that begs the question, which one should you choose? So I thought I'd give you a little background about me. My grandfather was a World War II Marine. My father worked for the University of Memphis for nearly 30 years. My mother, a pianist at Raleigh Baptist Church. Seems like forever. I went to Brownsville Road, Craigmont, and Bartlett High School, class of 81. We support the local school systems, youth athletics, and believe in what St. Jude and Le Bonheur stand for. I'm a Tiger and Grizz fan. The point? Memphis is my home. Five Ash Roofing will be around if you ever have a problem with the service we provide. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical, with deep local ties in our community. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
For over 8 decades, America's farmers have counted on the little red tractor from Case IH, the Farm Law, to help them make short work of their demanding chores. Mid-South Ag can show you they aren't just for farms anymore. With horsepower ranging from 30 to 105, plus an army of attachments, they can tackle every chore on your to-do list. From hauling and mowing to loading and towing and then some. Stop by Mid-South Ag Equipment or call 662-890-3141 to find a Case IH Farm Law that's right for you.
Listen up, sports fans. Your next winning drive is at Landers Ford in Collierville. That's right. The iconic Landers Easy Pass always delivers more for your trade than their biggest discounts on your next winning drive. See it all at LandersFordPass.com. Plus, when you are Landers Ford, you get the support of a certified service tech who comes right to your driveway with the Landers Ford Service Experience Program. They'll pick it up and fix it on the spot. Landers Ford in Collierville. They're going to be able to find you the most savings possible. You can make a trade and possibly lower your payments. And you can buy your current vehicle even if you didn't buy from them. It's a tradition that brings all across the Mid-South line. New Fords and quality pre-owned models are arriving every day. Make a rush. Go see them today in Collierville or online at LandersFordMemphis.com. And built from the 1977 Ole Miss football team that beat #1 ranked Notre Dame. Ladies and gentlemen, the final play of the game comes from president of Landers Ford in Collierville, Ron Kitchens. If it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you for water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, Albert Pujols confirmed that he will manage the Dominican Republic team in the World Baseball Classic next year, and he thinks that gets him one step closer to what he says the ultimate goal is of being a big league skipper. Did you ever tell Albert Pujols you're going to be the next great big league skipper?
I did not.
No,
I did
missed
not.
on that one.
Nor Yadier Molina,
well,
and one of them will be the Cardinal manager.
One of them.
someday.
Well, I found this interesting. I was reading a story about this, that Albert Pujols, obviously getting this gig and how he wants to be a big league manager, he has been a guest instructor for the Los Angeles Angels over the last 3 or 4 years.
Does he owe Artie Moreno appearance money?
He might, but Ron Washington's 72 years old. He's getting up there. Ollie Marmol, we know what's going on with Ollie.
We know he's bad.
We know he's bad. It feels like one of those jobs
at the worst time maybe ever to be manager of the Cardinals.
Oh, man, it really has. But, maybe one of those jobs open up. This is what he had to say about it. Quote, "If the opportunity is right and they open the door for me, I always say openly that I want an opportunity here in the big leagues. I think in Winter League, or doing it in Winter League and doing it this year, it gave me the experience that I needed. I think it prepared me for the big job." I mentioned it. He managed for the Winter League, won a championship. So, he's showing he has some chops as a manager.
Best right-handed hitter I ever saw.
Yeah, incredible.
What I learned today, Tigers finished 26-5, win the AAC tournament 29-5. 6th seed, I think, will be in play, maybe a 5. Great season no matter what happens in the NC tournament. Had to have it year for the Tigers and Coach Hardaway, and they did it. Finishing strong, no drama, sensational year.
Great year. What I could have done without, Brett, we were down in Oxford. I should say, I love that arena down in Oxford. I told you multiple times, I think it is a really, really nice arena. But we were sitting there.
Could have done without the company?
No. I could have done without when I looked down and saw Arkansas had scored only 14 points in the first half of their game against South Carolina. I think we both looked at it and were going, what in the world is going on here? So since we were at the Ole Miss game, I couldn't watch the game. I went back and watched the first half. I didn't care about the second half. I just wanted to watch what went wrong in the first half. Now,
everything.
South Carolina played, good defense, but it was a lot of missed threes. It was a lot of missed, just right at the rim shots. 8 of the 14 points came from the free throw line. They only made 3 field goals the entire first half. That's 12.5% from the field. The first field goal didn't come until 16:55 remaining in the first half. The second made field goal nearly 15 minutes into the first half with 5:58 remaining. It could have been much worse. South Carolina got cold about midway through the first half. They were struggling to knock down shots. This could have easily been 45, maybe even 50-14 at half.
Number 1 NIL in the SEC. Yeah. I could have done without. I can't stand it when the front office orders a loss like what happened Saturday night at the Grizzlies game.
Bad.
And what if that game costs a seed line? Too much coddling of these players. You need to get out there and play.
Yeah. It absolutely could cost a seed line. With how close everybody is between 2 and 5, that game mattered, and the Grizzlies said, we don't care about this game.
If you're breathing, play.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. Where are you beaming tonight?
Nashville, Allen Arena for the ASUN quarterfinal game.
Yeah!
22-9 Lipscomb against Central Arkansas, 9-23 the Bears are, but they got the big win last night.
A huge win last night, Brett. We were watching it. We were locked in on ASUN last night. We did, and we lost. We had Stetson last night over Central Arkansas, but Central Arkansas looked great in that game. Don't know if they'll have it tonight. Beat me to one of the other ASUN quarterfinal games, a game that I witnessed earlier this year. Austin Peay got a huge win yesterday. Now they will face off against North Alabama. Do not forget that both of the times these two teams met, it was chippy. They did not shake hands after the game. Multiple technical fouls in both of them. This one could be electric tonight in Florence.
Oh, that's beautiful. Grizzlies at home at FedEx Forum. Hope they leave the hustle down in DeSoto County instead of having the B team play again tonight. 27-33 for Atlanta. Houston at Oklahoma City. Sacramento at Dallas. Last Monday of Big Monday.
Yeah, we're getting Big Monday tonight. That'll be fun. 2 fun games. Duke and how well they played all season. Houston and Kansas later in the night. I saw this. Kansas is a 9.5-point underdog tonight against Houston. That is the most they've been an underdog by in like 25 years. It's just crazy stuff.
I think I had the count wrong earlier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks from tonight.
Wow.
At about 10 o'clock, shiny moment.
I thought 6 weeks sounded extremely close. 5 weeks sounds like tomorrow.
5 weeks.
That's crazy. March is here. It's already been a lot of fun, and it's only going to get more entertaining. That's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. Enjoy all the action. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.